All right.
Okay.
So
Tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready.
The blender's going on. Okay, go ahead. Make the blender go on. Go ahead. Get the blender going.
I'm gonna have to cut this out. This blender situation.
You are?
Oh, you want me to keep the blender in? I can
Let's
keep the blender
in just so people know what real life is like.
Yeah, well, speaking of which,
real life sometimes involves blenders.
That's true. So it's interesting that you said real life because that leads us into our topic this evening, which is called alternative realities.
Yeah.
And I was
something to say about that.
I was just speaking to my friends about how, when I was trying to convey to my friend, because we were talking about, he wishes he was born in America because he got bullied. He grew up in Petah Tikva, so he got bullied in school, and he would have fared better in America. And I said to him, my friend, 95% of suburban American high schools, if you're like a foreigner or an immigrant, or just even a person who was born in America, and you're the wrong type of personage, as we say, it's a nightmare. And then I went on to say to him, I grew up in alternative realities where in high school I was basically, I'm gonna use the word, not popular. And in the summers, I went to Russian Jewish sleepaway camp in the Poconos, and over there I was the bee's knees. So and I explained to him, I said, you know how like when you talk to leftists, it seems like it's almost as if they live in an alternative reality, and the rest of normal society lives in an actual reality. For whatever reason, and I was just using that kind of analogy to convey to him that like, we're constantly living in alternative realities, maybe in simultaneously, two realities at once. And it's interesting because I remember hearing a talk by Natan Sharansky, where he was talking about that very thing. As a dissident, he had to live in alternative realities, like either in his head or actively. He had to say one thing. Hello? What's that noise? Hello?
I turned off the.
Oh, okay.
I turned off the speaker. Can you hear me?
Yeah. No, I was just saying, like he had to live in alternative realities. Like he had to show one face to say one, certain things in the open, but then behind closed doors, in Russian we say no, в кухне с фигой. He sat in his kitchen, holding a finger in his pocket. We call the figa in his pocket, like his thumb between his index finger and his middle finger.
Yeah.
Whatever. And cursing the government. So it's amazing, like, and I'm wondering, there has to be some sort of, Kabbalistic idea behind that, because we're talking, because we always hear about like multiple worlds. Hashem created multiple worlds. Even before He created this world, He created multiple worlds before it. But then, even in our world, we see that there are like multiple worlds within our world.
Yeah.
There's like, I don't know, the medical world. There's the artist world. There's this world. There's that world. There's like, it's almost like you can drive in New York City, in Manhattan, right? And you can enter like a, you go like through Harlem, for example. That's their world. And it's almost like the people who live in that neighborhood or in certain neighborhoods don't know any other world. Or like you go to Brighton Beach in Brooklyn, and like from there to like, let's say Sheepshead Bay, that's a world, man.
It's a culture.
It's a culture, but it's also an entire like consciousness and world. I feel like I get, I'm the kind of person like I'm very sensitive to these things. I get very sucked in when I go to certain places, and I get sucked into the energy and the world.
Yeah.
That exists.
You know what? You know why you're calling it a world?
Yeah. Why?
Because the word culture is not used correctly. It's not given the correct emphasis that it deserves.
Yeah.
So we live in the same world, but culture is very, very powerful.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So culture involves everything that you just said.
Yeah.
This energy, this mindset, this it's culture is a big important word.
Yeah.
It's just not given the credit it deserves.
Yeah.
You know, culture is like, yeah, whatever culture.
Yeah.
But in a sense, culture is kind of like a world within a world.
Of course. But it's so, meaning, the reason I say world, it's a world, though these are worlds, because when you bring an outside anything into that realm, it's not even acknowledged. It's almost like something so foreign. You know, dude, I saw it like with, you know, again, growing up in Brooklyn and then moving to Jersey, and then let's say bringing a certain way of being, or bringing a certain style, or bringing a certain way of talking into, you know, I remember like I used to come back to Brooklyn, visit Brooklyn from Jersey, and it's literally like people in Brooklyn cannot accept. They can't even, you know that people from Brooklyn, like you invite them to Jersey, they feel like they have to leave, they go to the other side of the world. Even today. I have Dude, I have relatives who get lost with GPS. They get lost. They're like, "Oh, you guys live in the boonies." Like they think that Brooklyn is the center of the world.
Dude, well, hold on, I'm getting an echo.
Yeah, sorry. Hello?
Is that me, or should I call you back?
It could be you. Yeah, somebody call me back. I'll pause.
I'm gonna call you right back.
Okay. Okay, we're back. Is it better now?
Okay. Let's see now.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not hearing an echo.
Okay.
All right.
I think somebody's tapping us. In the words of
they're
Biggie Smalls, tap myself in the phone in the basement.
So listen. There's lovely things about the boonies where you live. Okay.
Yeah.
But there's unlovely things as well.
Of course
such
there are.
as you guys suck at street signs.
Of course we do.
Okay. And also your streets are not on a grid.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
You're right. But the point is they can't even go there.
It's dark, by the way.
In some places, other places it's not so dark. If you go to like Bergen County, like most of the county where I live, actually not the town where I live, but if you go north of me, 90% of Bergen County is very dark and it's very woodsy. It's like the
dangerous
woods.
At night.
It is. Like... No, but the point is like these. You talk to people like Russians in Brooklyn, for example. To them, Brooklyn, like, dude, when I go to Brooklyn, I want to stab myself in the eye with an ice pick. And to them, Brooklyn is the epicenter of the world. It's where life exists, and once you leave Brooklyn, unless you go to like, you know, the Dominican Republic, nothing else exists.
It's the culture capital of Russian culture in the United States.
That's fine. That's fine, but that doesn't make it amazing. And it's not amazing at all.
No. You're right. But it is amazing to those that like it.
I guess, if you're not well.
Dude, there's people, look, you got people who are like OTB, man, true blue OTB. You know what I mean?
Hold on a second.
They love it.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah, but these are
really
people, there's some people that live there for like 30 years and they still like it.
Exactly.
But they're not OTB anymore.
Years. Dude, everything they ever liked, and every important influential thing that ever happened to them in their formative years happened in that kind of setting. So that's what they're going to keep reverting to. I was upset when Russian Television Network of America came to. I hate it.
Russian Television Network of America. RTVI.
Yeah,
Did you watch RTVI?
It caused a regression my parents. I noticed.
Same. I just told my father this. He laughed. I was like, you and Frank's father, you're both these Americanized people. My father worked on Wall Street. Your father was, you know, doing whatever he was doing in Manhattan. My father worked for Goldman Sachs, man, in like Hanover Square, downtown. Americanized people. And I'm like, and now you just found Russian television. You reverted back to like, I don't know what. And then my mother goes to me, she overhears this. She goes, yeah, because American TV is horrible. I'm like, I know that. She's like, there's nothing to watch. I'm like, you're right, but you know there's like documentaries on YouTube. They're not into the whole YouTube game, you know? They're not into the whole...
Their Russian television network is many levels inferior to the horribleness
of course.
Of American television.
Of course it is.
They really watch like the B level, like what do they call them?
They're
like
called
detectives,
detectives, like miniseries.
Right, it's like expressionless, like dead face Russians, right?
No, they're not expressionless. You know what it's like? I think I mentioned this before. It's like, я тебе это хотел сказать, но это было уже поздно. И мы имели... I wanted to tell you, how I felt, but it was... Yeah, it's like these, and everything is like, we talk like шепотом, like this, like so that the KGB, the FSB doesn't hear us. Ну, давай мы так будем разговаривать. Ну, все будет хорошо, Марусь, ты ж понимаешь, come on, like... No, and then the music, and then you see like
which is stolen from Love Story in American movie.
Yeah. I mentioned this, what is it, the Banditsky Peterburg, the criminal St. Petersburg, and you had a guy named Antibiotic. Antibiotic.
Yeah. It's not. Remember, I mean, Russians. They think that. Russians, by culture, have an inferiority complex when they relate themselves to Americans.
Yeah.
Okay? You could say that the only thing that I've noticed that I would say is superior in the Soviet Russian culture was the math classes for the children.
Of course.
Everything else was crap.
Dude, my sister...
Every other aspect of life was awful.
Can I tell you how that's true? Because when I was in advanced math my entire life, and I remember I used to come home with homework to my parents. This is starting in like 4th grade, and I would show them whatever it was. My parents are both applied math people, so that's like, that's like their bread and butter. My mother's like, "You still learning this?" As if I made the curriculum. She's like, "We were already learning that." No, it was like 4th grade. I remember like in 4th grade I brought her like fractions or something, like, "We already we already learned this in 2nd grade or 1st grade." I'm like, "What do you want from me?" As if I'm the guy. I'm a superintendent of, the Board of Education of New York City. This is at the time, Brooklyn. I'm like, what do you want from me? And this is like this my whole life. My sister, she's 16 years old. She was sent to a place called the European Learning Center. By the time she got to middle school, she was 2 years ahead of all the kids. She was bored in math. She was basically according to the European system. She was on that level, And yeah, man, it was just crazy. It was like that's the one thing I noticed. But to what you said about the whole inferiority complex, I definitely felt that as a kid in school. Like, especially in suburban American high school, I felt that inferiority complex compared to these kids. On a social level.
I want to tell you one little aspect. One little aspect. Just before you move on to the next thing, when it comes to, like, the math, right?
Yeah.
They were rushing the kids, okay? Mm-hmm. Because a Soviet, like, the people who were structuring Soviet society, were not structuring a society where the population lives very long.
Correct.
The generations move should happen quickly, and then get out of the way. Yeah. Like so because like basically we say like the citizens, if they're gonna do their living, they gotta do it quick. They gotta develop quick. Yeah. They have to enjoy their young years, contribute something, and then
that's why die and get out of the way. That's why, for example, like if you didn't get married by the time you say you're 22 and didn't have kids by the time you're 23, 24, my mother had me at 27. They put her in the starter, like the old, the late birthing mother's ward. That's what they called it in the hospital. And the retirement age. That's why the retirement age in the Soviet Union was 55. Dude, my grandmother came to America. She was 55 years old. She already considered herself a pensioner, a pensioner. Like,
did you see that picture? So, just this is on topic.
Yeah.
They had a picture of those ladies from Sex and the City.
Yeah.
All of them are in their early to mid 50s. Yeah. And then they had a picture right next to them of the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
when that show started, all of them were in their early 50s.
That's crazy, yeah. But they played like 80-year-old, whatever, 70-somethings, 80-year-old retiree women.
Not really.
I mean,
only the mother.
The mother was already played like a late 80s person, and the other ones were playing 60-somethings.
They were playing like late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah, something like that. That's crazy, man.
Okay, so that's just, it goes to show you. So that's the kind of society that, they weren't really interested in keeping people alive very long, because honestly, the older you get, the more difficult it is to keep you healthy, the more resources it takes. You're really just being a drain on society.
That's why we see what we see, and that's why Mr. What's his name? Rahm Emanuel's brother, Zeke Emanuel, wrote that wonderful article, I only want to live until 75. And that's how he formed the policy of the guy who's really the president, Mr. Sotoro, as we call him. Barry Sotoro. Mm-hmm. No, but I was going to say, but besides what you're saying, in the Soviet Union, they also wanted to move it along because they wanted to train people for the sciences, because they wanted to beat the U.S., the nuclear and all that kind of stuff. Military, nuclear, and they wanted to give people the top-notch, math and physics and all this kind of stuff. Or as we say, what is it? They call, my friend has a term for it. Microbioastrophysica. Something like that. Microbiochemia astrophysica. It's like everything combined,
Yeah.
And that's
biophysics, basically.
Yes. And yeah, man, I don't know, but like this, going back to this like alternative realities thing, like, where does that come from though? Like, I literally, I'm telling you, like, I grew up living in alternative realities, and it's interesting now. I see what's going on politically here, and media wise, and you literally talk to people, and like, not only like, when you already get past the whole, like, you have a certain opinion and they start labeling you anti whatever, right? And then you get into actual discussion with them. It's incredible how they just cannot. They can't even have a conversation. They can't even have a nuanced discussion about the actual topic. And you see how much in an alternative reality they live. They're just in their reality. Anything that's coming from the outside to just pierce that bubble and to pierce that veil is really, it's not a threat. It's like, it needs to be fought with a battle axe. And I was thinking, like, today I was talking to somebody like that, and I'm thinking, like, there has to be some sort of Kabbalistic idea on this, and this has to come from somewhere. It's not just part of like a psyop, it's something even deeper than that, to the point where I'm telling this person facts and they cannot, unless they're like some sort of NPC bot, or like, I don't know, like a Chinese psyop agent who's just messing with me, who's trying to like agitate me. Let's say the person is real. They just cannot absorb what I'm saying. They can only retort with, like, I don't know, insults or labeling or whatever it is. Changing the subject to something else, diverting. It's incredible. And I'm thinking, like, there must be some sort of Indian there that would explain.
There is.
Okay.
So I can attempt. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's talk about the very beginning of alternate realities. Mm-hmm. The first world that God created mm-hmm. is an alternate reality. That's the first kind of layer of, mm-hmm. because the ultimate reality is Ein Od Milvado, mm-hmm. the absolute bottom layer of reality, the foundation of all.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, God wanted to change that, or at least the perception of that.
Yeah.
You can't change it. Something that's the ultimate reality, you can't change it, but you can cover it up to observers. Mm-hmm. God didn't cover it up to himself. Actually, it says that to God, it's as if all of creation never happened. Meaning, like, not to him, from his perspective, there was no change whatsoever. It's only from our perspective that there seems to be gradations of diversity. Okay, rather than an absolute unity, which is what God is.
Yeah.
So that's where it starts. It was the first world that God created. So the word olam is rooted in the root helam.
Yeah, elam, hidden, right?
Which means to hide. So it's a layer of hiddenness.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the basically the root. The Sitra Achra is obviously connected to that, or that could be everything that exists is rooted in holiness, even what we perceive as the other side. Okay, at some point, not in the root, but quote unquote, lower down, like allegorically speaking, lower down. It's exposed to unholiness, okay? But even the unholy, what we experience as unholy, is rooted in the holy. It's basically, the idea is like this: God wants to create a world, okay, an environment for this other that he can have a relationship with. The environment itself provides the opportunity for that other to feel themselves as another.
Yeah.
Okay. So in that respect, it's holy, this idea of hiding or covering up the ultimate reality, is because that's what God wants. It's for the purpose of providing this other for God to have a relationship with.
Yeah.
So that's the holy part. But as this chain-like descent of the worlds proceeds, at the lower, the allegorically speaking lower levels, you have these klipot, forces, which attach to this. They are attracted to this, and they can nourish from it. Probably because this idea of covering up reality is good in its intention, and it's what it's eventually going to be, but it can be easily abused to go against God's will as well.
Yeah.
So it starts out in fulfilling God's will, but as we continue down at a very low level, far from the root of it, it is then used in the other direction. Now that's all constructed on purpose. That's the free will department.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's not eternal. Evil has a expiration date.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where we begin. If you want to understand, this Sitra Achra, this alternate reality thing. So since that first time that God created the illusion that something exists other than himself, right? He let these consciousnesses feel that themselves. Okay, that was the first, and then that pattern repeated. Infinity is not enough to say how much that pattern repeated. Okay, this goes outside of time, outside of anything that we can really comprehend or grasp onto. As Rabbi Bax would say, it never was not the case.
Yeah.
This is God's MO, basically.
Yeah.
Okay? So whenever we're talking about the time before or after, or we're trying to create or exhibit some sort of organization in this process, that's just for us to be able to begin to see the pattern. That doesn't mean that there was ever a beginning to the pattern or an end to it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is just something that is essential to God. Yeah. Okay, that's just what he does. Okay, so I guess that was a long-winded way of saying God did this a lot.
Oh, sure, of course.
quite a bit. Okay. So, and each one is like a layer, right? It can be portrayed as a layer. Each creation, each world that he creates is like a new layer. Okay. There's a lot of metaphors that are used to this, but anyway, so okay, so that's the origin of it. Now, the pattern is established, okay, and the more layers there are, the more covering up there is of the ultimate reality. Yeah. And yet the ultimate reality pervades, or it still completely dominates and fills all of these realities. You understand? Like at the same, these are two things that are happening simultaneously. You have, it's as if none of it ever happened, right? That's to God, but to the beings themselves, they see like an infinite amount of layers of covering between us and God. Even though to God there's no covering whatsoever. It's complete. He sees it as a complete unity, but he needs us to see it not like that. That's the only way we maintain our existence as individual beings, which is what he wants. That's why we are, because he wants. Okay. So now we have to talk about what are we? But I'm going to have to ask you a series of questions, okay?
Okay.
So normally, if you would ask a person, what are you? Who are you? And sometimes a person would point to their chest, right? Mm-hmm. Who are you? You point to yourself. You're you know. Sometimes if a person is more, connected or clever, they would point to their head because that's where, it feels that's where their thinking occurs, right?
Can I quote for a second the Kotzker Rebbe? You know this phrase from him? You know some of these. You know who the Kotzker Rebbe was, right?
I know who he was.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if I heard the phrase.
Listen to this. Listen to this amazing phrase. Okay. It goes as follows. 1 second. If I'm just trying to find the thing. 1 second. If I am I because I am I, and you are you because you are you, then I am I and you are you. But if I am I because you are you and you are you because I am I, then I am not I and you are not you.
I heard that from Rabbi Pinson.
Yeah, that's
who was saying it in the Yiddish.
Yeah, that's the Kotzker Rebbe.
Yeah.
So basically, the person who wrote this goes on to say, if you want, you can define yourself by your job, accomplishments, beliefs, nationality, religion, and experience or expectations. But I think we are much more complicated than that. I think we are better than that. Well, this is like more kind of like universalist kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that's connected to these series of questions, because you'll see why it needs to be a series of questions. Why I'm not being cute. I'm not trying to be cute. I've seen no other way to go about getting to this point. Mm-hmm. So I ask you again. Yeah. Who are you? So most people would, just to help you out, most people would point to them to their chest. Yeah. And they say, no, that's your chest. What are you? And then some people would point to their head. No, that's your head. Well, so what are you? Then someone more perceptible will say, my mind. No, you are not your mind. Yeah. That's your mind. It was your chest. It was your head, and that's your mind. Yeah. And then some wise guy is always going to say, well, obviously, you expect me to say I'm my soul. Nope, you are not your soul. That's your soul. So the point is, anything that you can point to or discuss is not you. Yeah. It pertains to you. It is a thing. Yeah. You understand? Yeah. This is really, really, really important. Yeah. I'll explain why it's so important. I'm not being overdramatic. Yeah. I'm going to be overdramatic soon, but not now. So, we, just like God, we are who we really are, right? Is undefinable. Yeah. We are beyond the world. We are beyond the creation. We're not really from here.
I know. The more I go along this world, the more I realize that. At least about myself.
No, you're talking about this world. I'm talking about existence.
Yeah, I know.
Existence is not all that exists.
I know, for sure.
Okay, we just don't have we don't have the words or the definitions or the way to think about what is outside of existence. Remember, existence had to be created.
Yeah.
Right? So that will fry a person's brain. Like, what do you mean existence had to be created? Yeah, God had to create existence. God had to create creation. Yeah. Okay, all the most basic, possible, vaguest, abstract concepts all had to be created. Even the concepts. Yeah. Those are things. Okay, so your body, your mind, your soul, these are all things. It is not you. Yeah. Okay, these are different things that are given to you as tools. Yeah. But who are you? That is not an answerable question. You are beyond anything that you can think of. Yeah. That's where we and God are rooted together, and we're not something else besides God. Yeah. Okay? So I'm not saying that you're God. I'm not saying that I'm God. Okay? But at a certain level, when you attract your consciousness back away from all the things that are things, then at that point you are God.
We're part of God.
God doesn't have parts. I know, it's a brain buster.
The word part is wrong.
Yeah, all words are wrong. That's
not
the problem.
Not sufficient.
Yeah. So there's no words. Like a person, in order to have basically a relationship with God, the first thing you got to do is be humble. What does that mean? I'll tell you what it means to me.
They say bittul yourself, no? Like nullify. Bitul.
Well, no, I'll just tell you. I'll tell you what. Those are just words. I'll tell you what that actually means to me, like how I can relate to that. Yeah. You have to understand that you were not given the tools that the tools that you rely on in this experience here in this world, right, are not adequate to deal with this topic, with these questions that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And that's very humbling. Yeah. You literally were not given the tools to grasp things beyond the creation. Yeah. You live in a bubble, which is called existence. God created it for you. But you're not able to reach outside of it. You are outside of it, but you're not able to use the tools of within existence to discuss or to think about, or see, even those words are it's a ridiculous thing to say. Like, let me rephrase it. You don't have the tools that were given to you. The tools that were given to you in this world are not going to reach outside of the world. Yeah. Okay? So that's it. That's the humility. I think probably that's where humility starts. Yeah. That there are things that are beyond. That's God. Even you are beyond your mind. Yeah. Your mind is not you, by the way. Yeah. So even your soul isn't you, but really your soul is more a reflection of the real you than your mind is, because your mind is not you at all. I just learned this. The Yetzer Hara equals your mind. Yeah. That is literally your mind. So your mind was given to you as a tool. It's an annoying tool. Yeah. It's a painful tool. It's a tool which challenges you all the time. But you need it if you can use it right. Most of the time, people use this tool to maim themselves. For instance, people think that they generate their own thoughts, but you actually don't. All the thoughts are generated for you by the Yetzer Hara. So here's a metaphor that I came up with, and you'll see if it's going to be flawed, but you'll see if you like it. You ever been to a third world country that is beautiful? People come there because of the beautiful beaches and waters, right?
Yeah.
So while you're there, you're walking down the beach. If it's a public beach, you're going to be swamped by people trying to sell you stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, buy this, buy that. Would you like a massage? Would you like this coconut? Would you like a flower? Would you like They need these people trying to live. Okay.
Yeah.
And they're presenting things to you.
Yep.
Okay. Now so I'm not trying to compare these people to the Yetzer Hara, by the way. It's a very loosely affiliated metaphor.
Yeah, sure.
These people are bringing you thoughts.
Yeah. Yep.
Everything they're offering you is each thought that you have in your mind. This is like one of these things that someone's trying to sell you. Someone wants you to take it seriously. Someone wants you to pay attention to it. Here, pay attention to this thought. Here, look at this thought. And most of the time, we think that we generate that's our thought, that's who we are, but it isn't. Okay? So, now, who is you? The observer. You are observing your thoughts. You're the one that the thoughts are being presented to you, right? If they were you, would they have to be like paraded in front of you?
Would you have to be like cajoled into thinking them?
Like, why are you going through the process? Your thought is like someone trying to convince you of something. That really is not you.
That is true. That is true. I only know that because there are times uncontrollable, meaning they're just going. It's like a train. It's like a locomotive, and you can't stop it. Meaning there's something outside of you that's doing that.
Yeah.
And the only thing
Rabbi Kaplan calls that the reverie.
Yeah, and the only way for it to stop is for you to actively stop it.
The first step is now everything that I'm telling you right now. This is not my self-help stuff. This is stuff that I actually read from legitimate people.
Yeah.
I'm copy and pasting. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm pretending. I'm trying to be like Rashi and just bring you the tradition.
I just call myself a parrot.
I'm trying to be a parrot.
Yeah.
And I look like a parrot, so it fits. It's okay. Yeah. Okay. So I got a beak. Anyway.
Is that what you have? Is that what you have? Like 6 cats around you, but it's like reversed. The cats are not hunting you; you're hunting them.
Nobody's hunting anybody.
So what do you? Why does a parrot have 6 cats?
Because the parrot got stuck with the cats, and the parrot realized that perhaps God is telling the parrot to take care of these creatures.
Interesting.
That's how the parrot sees it.
Yeah. I'm
referring to myself as the parrot.
Yes.
Great.
All right.
All right. Toucan Sam. All right. So basically, you the first step to understand that you are not your thoughts and you are not your mind is to understand that. Yeah. Take it seriously. You have to understand your thoughts are not you. Your mind is not you. So who are you? You are the one observing the thoughts. You are the one that the thoughts are being presented to. Mm-hmm. Now, so first, that's the first step to realize. The second step to realize that you don't have to buy the drink from the vendor. You don't have to buy the flower. You don't need the massage. You just want to get to the beach and just tan. You're not interested in buying fish and taranka, and you're not interested in all of these offerings that they're trying to sell you. All these things, all these knickknacks, right?
Yeah.
Those are your thoughts. You don't have to entertain them. You can just notice them and just let them, you can reject them. You could say, nah, I don't need that thought. That thought is not assisting me in any way. So, and the thoughts that we're supposed to pay most attention to and reject, for the most part, are the repetitive thoughts. So you have repetitive thoughts. If you have a brand new thought that never was shown to you before, you should look at it, and then you should assess whether or not that is useful to you in what you're doing at that moment, or helpful in your role as a servant of God, or your role as a person who wants to help others. Okay? If that serves no purpose, if it doesn't fit into any of those tasks, kick it to the wayside.
Yeah.
Okay? Repetitive thoughts that just kind of haunt you. You keep coming back to them. Grudges, hurt feelings, unrequited love, all this bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You could just kick that to the curb. That's not you.
No, of course not.
All right. So now, why is this so important? Because it cuts to the core of how God looks at us. Everything about God and his motives are mysterious. But so basically what we know is that God wants a relationship with us. What does that mean? That doesn't mean he wants a relationship with our bodies, with our minds, or with our souls. He wants a relationship with us, just as undefinable as he is.
Yeah.
Okay? Mm-hmm. So basically, when you are, let's say, in a relationship, now a lot of this, I'm just copying a lot of this from Manus Friedman, who I'm sure is copying it from whoever taught him, and going all the way back to the beginning. Okay,
yeah.
So when you have a relationship, right, with your mother, sister, father, cousin, with your wife, with your children, right? Yeah. So those are all different relationships, but they all have something that is that unites them all. Yeah. That it's not. Let's say your wife would say, "Do you love me?" Yes. Well, what do you love about me? Yeah. And so basically, the right answer is not because you want to be diplomatic or you're trying to pander, but the real answer should be, yeah. and it actually really is, that I don't love anything about you. I love you.
Yeah.
There's no reason for it.
It's a very Western Hallmarkian. Speaking of Sex and the City-ish, just all those stupid, labels you want to give it. At the risk of giving labels, because I spoke about labels before. It's very from that. What do you love about me? Can you tell me what? It's like. It's just like, well, the thing that I love about you today is gonna be gone in 20 years because you're gonna be older or something. Like.
Right. So exactly. So Robert Friedman would say, you don't love her. You love that thing about her. It's
kind of like you ever see those movies where there's like, there's a couple, like married couple, and they're already kind of like in their 50s or 60s, and then the husband is like, what happened to the girl I married? And he's asking not about the looks. He's asking about the personality. He's like, what happened to that girl? Remember American Pie? Not American Pie. American Beauty with Spacey, yeah. When she comes in and he's like, what happened to the girl I married? It's just it's that kind of stuff. It's like people can't understand that, like, yes, people change with age. There's like hormones that change. There's like mentalities that change. There's things that there's what we call klipas of life that attach themselves to people.
Right, but the important thing is that what you see when you said, like, I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I'm just trying to bring a point up. So when you say people change, they don't change.
They don't change, but they're
No, but that because the people is that completely inaccessible. Yeah. Like it's accessible as an experience, but not as a way to define something.
Correct.
That undefinable.
Yeah.
You never changes. That is
for sure. The essence of who you are never changes, but the all the accoutrements, the ornaments of
the accoutrements, they change.
They morph, for better or worse.
We should talk about that, by the way. We should talk about what that is.
Yeah.
the changing stuff, but that's separate. That's almost a separate topic.
And so it's like, again, it's back to the Hallmark thing, like, you know, especially now you see, and that's actually why, by the way, you look at like these celebrity marriages, and that's why they end so quickly, because everybody is marrying either the idea of each other, you know, this hologram. Men are marrying like these gorgeous Instagram holograms of each other, and vice versa also. Women are marrying male holograms. And then when life hits them in the face, they're like, well, goodbye. This isn't working for me anymore. For me. Instead of you working for it. It's not working for them anymore. And so it's very easily discardable. You know, and okay, let's just, you know, we can be friends. We can be this.
Yeah, so that's the opposite of what God wants.
Yeah,
God wants, I don't mean like the way we act amongst each other. He wants that too, but what he wants is so he wants us, not our bodies, our minds, our souls, but us, whatever that is.
Yeah. I forgot to mention, they also marry each other for sex. I mean, which is part of the hologram thing.
Yeah, those are all things. Yeah. Those are all things.
Yeah.
Okay? So basically, you're not having a relationship with a thing. Okay? Yeah. So when you have your family, right? Your parents, your mother. Well, think about it. Like, people say, "Well, why do you love your mom?" Yeah. Oh, because she gave birth to me. I don't really appreciate that. I didn't ask to come here. Yeah. I'm kind of annoyed, really.
Well, some people do say that.
I know. But I'm saying like, oh well, she she nursed you. I didn't ask her for that.
So I was watching, dude. I was watching a clip.
If you would have asked me, I would have said it's okay. I appreciate it, but no, thank you.
I was watching a clip yesterday. Jordan Peterson. This is an old clip of Jordan Peterson when he was a guest on Bill Maher, and he's just like, not all children are loved. In fact, some, there are parents that despise their children. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing him.
Right, and yet those children still love their parents.
Most of the time, yeah.
No. So I'm not trying to get into complex psychological issues.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that parents don't despise their children. Yeah. Parents resent their children for similar reasons. Sometimes that children resent their parents. Like the parent is like, you are this thing which came and challenged my. You have interfered with my entirely self-centered life.
Yeah.
Because I love you, you're interfering with what I planned.
Somebody posted a TikTok clip of this, like, I guess she's like 25 years old, and she's just, the girl, she has a daughter sitting in the back of her car, and the girl is, the mother is crying. She's like 25, she's like this exennial, whatever, Gen Z. And she's crying, and she's like, I just want to smack, something I'm paraphrasing. I just want to smack her all the time, but I can't. And whatever. And parenting is so hard. And like, why can't she just do, like, what I say? And she's just thinking, like, was I like this as a kid? She's like a part of me. What does that mean? No, she's like, yeah. She's like, if she's like this and I'm her mother, what does it say about me? Genetically. Like, am I also like a big asshole? She's crying.
Yeah.
Something like that. It was just very fun. I'm just paraphrasing. It's kind of like she just couldn't take it. She's like going berserk. And she's a single mother too. Her whatever. She's like divorced.
That's one of the things that gives people grief, is because where's the grief coming from? It's the tension between being presented with something that you didn't know that you want it. You didn't really want it, but now you're being shown something that you never planned. You're not familiar with. You weren't asking for it, but it's such a strong. It's pulling you away from the stuff that you wanted to do because you're so. It's such a deep connection,
and it's engulfing.
You don't want to love it.
The physicality of it is engulfing, like taking care of it and demands.
No. What I'm saying is, actually, I was saying that when a parent has a child, right? Let's say you have like some Girls Gone Wild type fraternity girl who ends up getting pregnant, right? And that interferes with her next spring break. Okay?
Yeah.
Obviously, she's not going to have another spring break.
Yeah.
And so now she's very, she's torn, and she's resentful to this child, which she's magnetically attracted to it, in the sense that there's so much love that she feels for it, that love itself is what she's resenting.
Yeah. Like
the fact that the kid, that the connection.
I hate that. It's like I hate that I love you so much that you're, whatever, taking up my life.
Yeah. Right. You ruined my life with all of this love that I feel. I didn't want it. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah. So
that's what. So when parents are, hate their children, that's really what it is. Yeah. Anyway, but the point is that, when you have, so it's nothing that if somebody would say to you, you love your parents, why? There's no reason, because most of the stuff that they did is annoying.
Yeah, there's no reason.
And they give me constant grief.
Yeah.
Can I say? No, I can't. Do you want them gone? No, I can't imagine existence without them. I don't care how old or how decrepit or how infirm they get. Yeah. I need them to be here with me. It has nothing to do with anything about them. I need them.
Yeah. Okay,
so the reason I'm saying this is because I have my uncle right now is in the hospital, my Uncle Felix, and he needs a refuah shalema. Okay, but he also needs a refuah shalema in his spirit and his mind, because I would like for him to understand that he feels like useless and that he should get out of the way. He has this toxic, horrible, disgusting, evil cancer of the Soviet mentality, which is the cancer of all cancers.
I was just gonna say it's you always see, like, it's funny when I became Baal Teshuva, I guess you can say, and I got into the frum world, and you see how, let's say, like, one of these rabbis or one of these people in the frum world who have this, like, it's really a thing. You see it as an intergenerational thing of built up emunah and bitachon. And you hear stories of people getting sick, or somebody's relative getting sick, and you see the positivity. It's usually these, like, American people, just this positivity, and we did the tefillas, and I'm so hopeful, I'm so grateful to Hashem, and and my family, and it's just such a departure from the world that you and I are used to, especially with our Russian relatives. It's like. And you almost want to, like, it's like you see something where it's like a toolkit, and it's like a toolkit that you want to give over. Like, I wanted to give this over to my parents and my grandmother, and it's impossible. I see that it's just impossible. It's like I might as well go bang my head against the flipping wall.
It's not impossible.
It's not impossible, but it's so difficult.
It's going to cost you.
It's going to cost me, like, maybe my health. That's for shalom,
Yeah. No, that's what it is. Like to help our Russian relatives out of their Russianness is going to cost us.
It's crazy.
It's like, it's very similar to the idea of a shliach.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because go to Anchorage.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so, go to Siberia. Okay. So, he's from Brooklyn, and he goes to, he has like 10 kosher pizza places, and he goes to the JCC and plays basketball, and then all of a sudden he's in Siberia.
And then all the people who are just like, whenever they see something remotely bad, they're just like, это ужас. Ну вот что можно сделать? Вот, so my grandmother says, вот такая жизнь. That's the life. That's the way the life is. That's such as life. Вот такая жизнь. There's no tehillim. There's no prayers. There's no miracles.
But we can talk about that. We can talk about
that's another alternative reality.
Right. That is the alternative reality. That is called. There's a word that we have, which we've heard Rabbi Kessin say many times.
What does he say?
The zulama.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get into that. I just wanted to, if you wanted to, I just wanted to kind of put that to the side for a moment.
But I want to touch upon, like, you started explaining. I wanted to know about. I
just wanted to finish the point. I wanted to finish the point about my uncle.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So and this applies to all of my family.
Yeah,
okay?
Same.
I and my friends.
Yeah.
Okay? Whoever I'm connected to, even if I don't like you. Okay? As long as you're not a mass murderer.
Yeah.
Or a pedo or a rapist or, any of these things. If you're connected to me and you're a one of those things, I want you here, and I gain nothing at all by your departure.
Yeah.
I want to say this to my uncle or to any one of my Russian relatives in the future, who they're gonna feel like, if I could get out of the way, you guys could go back to your life and you don't have to worry about me. We gain nothing by you not being with us.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much we have to do to take care of you.
I'm still in.
There's the reason why we want you here. There's no reason. It's because you are you.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no reason. This is not part of reason. This is not part of rational
My grandmother
thinking.
says that sometimes, as difficult as a relationship I have with her. She's like, maybe when whatever, has shalom, and you won't be so whatever, like, and I'm just like, why the hell would you say that? Like,
because you know why?
Where is that from?
I'll tell you where it's from.
It's from that government that you mentioned that wanted people just to move it along.
No. Well, no, that was just kind of like the general attitude of the government. But where does that statement come from?
It's like I always say leftists have a self-hate, but these people are right-wing as hell, and they have more self-hate than any leftist ever could.
Right. So it's not coming from. It's not coming from that. It's coming from the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Because when they were in this society, they felt something that was not right. They're still human beings. They understand that there's something off about this view, about this mentality, about just kicking someone to the curb when you're done with them, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a relationship or whether it's a relationship between a society and an individual. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. So what they want is to hear that no, that's not true. That's what they're asking. When they say something like that, they're asking, please tell me that's not the case.
Yeah.
Okay? Because
it's almost like fishing for a compliment or fishing for a good word, as it were.
Yeah. Tell me that I have a real connection somewhere in this world.
Yeah.
I need to know that, and not for any particular reason. It's just the necessity. Just the basic.
Dude, can I tell you something? When my grandmother had COVID, Baruch Hashem, she was probably Omicron 2 weeks ago. Or I think I told you this. So you went through this experience because you helped me. And normally it takes a lot for me to get up from my chair and to get in my car and go visit my grandmother. We have a difficult relationship. Let's put it that way. The minute I heard she had COVID, I called you. I think you called in somebody, whatever. Let's say somebody called in a prescription. I got in my car. I didn't wait like even 30 minutes. I got in my car and I drove to Brooklyn. It's an hour drive in the middle of the day. I went to this pharmacy. I got her IVM. And I came to her house and I got her other things. There was a whole bag of things that I brought her. It was a lot of different kind of things and stuff, as we say. There was like zinc in there. There was all kinds of things, like food, different things. I rarely do this, and I thought to myself, maybe I'm just doing this because I want to I'm on this like COVID crusade, this whole thing of testing out. No, that's my thought process. Like, I'm testing out, like I'm using my grandmother's like a guinea pig. I want to see like if IVM works, with this. Or maybe HCM.
No, that's the Sahara trying to cover
I know, but then I'm thinking to myself,
the real reason.
Sure, I was like, I've never done this before, where I've just gotten in my car and just like as fast as humanly possible. My grandmother's been like sick before. Usually it's like my mom that does this kind of stuff. But I saw, it was just like a Tuesday afternoon or something. My mother was working, and she actually, could not go. And also, like, my mom knows that I'm the one kind of like I'm the crusader of all this like. The therapeutic stuff that got banned. So I was like the point man. I was the one talking to you. And figuring all this stuff out. So I just went. It was like an army mission, Amash.
Yes.
It was like one of these because I treat this as a war. So it's like But it was crazy because I just got there and I was just kind of like, I get to her apartment and I'm telling her, okay, like this is what you take and this, and she's like, whatever. She's like, and she has her stupid home attendant from Uzbekistan who's like arguing with me or telling me that her, I don't know, her mother or grandmother took it and it didn't work for her, and just like stupid comments.
Let.
Yeah, right. That's another aspect of this whole wonderful game, and no, I was just like watching myself do this, and I was just like, where is this coming from? And it's just coming from, when you slice it down, when you slice away the Yetzer Hara, it's just coming from my grandmother got a Chas v'sholom life-threatening disease, which I know I can be instrumental in helping to alleviate, and I'm going to do whatever it takes, irrespective of my relationship with her, which is like a 2 out of 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was fascinating.
Because the reality is, I think one of the few ways there's no real words to define it, but we can try somewhat. And this is kind of grim, but losing, I can't even say that, but a person who, the thought of becoming disconnected from or not having access to, consciously, a loved one, regardless of whether they're obnoxious or not, is similar to the idea of losing a limb.
Can I tell you something really quickly?
You don't necessarily like your arms. You don't have a fantastic relationship with them. Yeah. Maybe you don't like the too many pimples or whatever, or they're not. But yet you kind of don't want to give it away, and not just because it's a tool.
Yeah.
That life would be hard. It's because that's it pertains to you in that sense.
Can I tell you something ironic? My dad's mother, who was 96 years old, my other grandmother, passed away last year. And she was actually, I guess you could say, quote unquote, nicer than the grandmother Baruch Hashem that's still alive, my mother's mother. But I never had that close relationship with her. I actually, we have our contentious moments. My grandmother, my mother's the one who's still alive. But I actually am closer with her within that friction. I'm still closer with her, and I have more kind of an understanding with her than I did with my mother's mother. My mother's mother was very she was one of these people who never wanted to burden anybody. She was very independent to the point where she wasn't active with me in the sense of just. Also, she was old, 10 years older. And it's very interesting. Like I feel closer to my mother's mother as much as there's like these, And
how old were you when she?
What, my father's mother passed away?
Yeah.
This is last year, so I was like 40. I just turned 40.
Last year, okay.
Yeah. And, yeah.
So here's a truth. It's like quantum physics. If you put two atoms next to each other, right? Mm-hmm. And scientists have been doing this, have been able to do this for a while. They take two random atoms, and then they put them next to each other. They begin to resonate the same frequency. And then, once you separate them, right? It doesn't matter what the distance is. If you were to twist, I'm speaking kind of hyperbolically. If you're going to twist the atom on the left side, let's put it this way: you take two atoms randomly that were not next to each other before. You put them next to each other. They start to resonate, vibrate at the same frequency. Okay. Then you take the one that was on the right, and you take it to Australia. And the one that was on the left stays in America. Okay? Or you take the one on the right, you take it to Pluto or the next galaxy. It doesn't matter. Okay? So the one that's in America, the one that remained behind, if you were to do something to it, right? You were to twist it or turn it, then the other one would twist and turn simultaneously. As if there's no distance between them whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's called quantum entanglement, or as Einstein liked to call it, spooky action at a distance.
Yeah.
This is the basis of a lot of our technology, by the way.
Yeah.
So I think that there has to be some level of, you got to be put next to an entity, and then you automatically begin to, there's a truth about it that is exposed after spending time together in the proximity, which is that you begin to resonate at the same frequency, which means that you always really resonated at the same frequency, except it was, this aspect of existence was revealed.
Yeah.
And now you cannot disconnect.
Yeah.
So I think the eventual goal is that every atom or whatever the smallest particle is in the entire existence will have this connection where everything will be resonating together, and then there will be no disconnect between entities. Yeah. Okay, this is kind of like, so because you didn't spend time with your grandma, or for whatever reason, whatever the reasons were, okay, then that feeling wasn't exposed.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all it is. It's there, except it wasn't exposed. So people that you spend more time with, the people that you spend a lot of time with, right? Mm-hmm. Like the dudes I spent time with, the co-workers on the construction site. Just people, just that kind of stuff. That's permanent.
Yeah.
And that all happens for a reason.
It's like the Marine guys who were in the Marines. Like you at some point you ask them, and they'll say like I wasn't at some point I wasn't fighting for my country. I was just fighting for the guys who were with me.
Yeah.
Because I said there's that bond. I don't give a damn about what the president says. I don't give a damn what the general, sergeant, whatever it is, the army, schmarmy. At some point, it's just me and the like 8 other guys who are like pinned down against a freaking Ford Pinto in Fallujah.
Unfortunately, the evil ones use that to their advantage.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to get into that. Going off too many tangents. But so that's probably the situation with you and your grandma. But that's a temporary state of being, which can bring us, if you want, we can segue to why the hell is there separation in the first place?
Can we stay on to figure out why and actually who created these alternative realities that we see before us? Or is it something that Hashem, again, created, but why did he even have to do it this way, to where it's almost like you can't bring, and sometimes it's like good, very, very good people, otherwise good people who are stuck in the world of non-emes, and you're trying to bring them into the world of emes. I'm not talking about world of emes in the sense of Torah. I'm talking about the world of emes in like, hey, there's like a treatment for this disease, and they can't even, they can't. They cannot.
Well, so that's
why?
Yeah, you were right. You answered the question. God did that. What for? To create a situation called free will. To make a choice.
But it almost seems like there is no free will, because these people are like NPC bots who have like
it's not a permanent thing.
No, I know, but so the question is, when are they going to get out of this mass hypnosis, and what's going to get them out of it? Because clearly, I'm not the one to do it. I'm trying, and it's pointless.
So it's possible, but it's going to cost. That's the thing.
What's
just like we were talking about?
Sure.
Trying to help.
Trying to get
people with this defeatist kind of, I'm useless to my family. I should just die and get out of their way so they can enjoy their lives going to the vacation packages. Go to Barbudo.
Dominican Republic.
Если я здесь не буду, он поедет на Бермюда, ему понравится.
Yeah.
Fucking idiots.
That's what he said?
No, I'm just giving. That's not what he said.
That's
he said something worse.
Oh my god.
He said something even worse.
Do I want to hear it?
I can't. I'm not.
Is it even remotely like dark humor version of funny, or it's not? If it's not funny, I don't want to hear it.
It's not. There's nothing funny about it, and I believe that on some level, he's the person who's saying that.
Uh-huh.
Anybody who says that wants to know. Please tell me this isn't true.
Yeah. Gosh.
Okay. So, and it could be somewhat unconscious.
Yeah. For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
So basically, it does what you said. It kind of it touches upon the same entity, like so this alternate reality, this covering, right?
Yeah.
This covering itself is the same thing as entropy in physics, okay? You know how, like, there's rules, physics, they make observations about the universe, like these geniuses. They say, it seems that things that were organized seem to become disorganized over time.
No,
like organisms.
No shiznit.
Right. So, they're not really, nobody seems to be offering, a reason for this. It seems that things over time seem to become disorganized.
Yes.
Okay. So, which means things fall apart. Okay. So what is this? What is this force of entropy? So that's the zooma. That's the snake poison. So and this goes directly to the resurrection of the dead. People, even religious people who want to still kind of consider themselves rational or normal people that you can carry a conversation with, right? Like, I'm Orthodox, but I'm normal. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like the YU people.
Mm-hmm.
Or whoever. It's not just YU.
Yeah,
why am I picking on them?
Yeah, of course.
If Rav Soloveitchik was with us, I wouldn't dare pick on YU.
Dude, if because it would be a different story. Same thing with if Rav Kook was here.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be the YU that it is, right?
Yeah, and if Rav Kook was here, these schmucks in Israel wouldn't be doing what they're doing. So he would be appalled. But anyway.
Oh, man. Anyway, so it wouldn't be cool to see like Rav Kook come down with like a flaming angel sword and just like, just be like, everybody, kind of like the parrot coming home, like, get your ass, anyway. Yeah. So, and I'll tell you why I bring up the angel sword, by the way. It has something to do with our episode, but we'll get to that at the end. Remind me about the angel sword, please.
Yeah.
All right. So, the resurrection of the dead, I've heard it described, right? It's really kind of a little bit strange, and it makes you think, like, why are they making these claims? I mean, there seems to be more, if it's going to happen, which seems a little crazy to begin with, can it be described as something more sophisticated, something? This is the description. Just like the person decomposed, not the person, but their body, the lifeless substance that they were inhabiting, right, begins to decompose. Okay, and over time, the material gets spread apart. Could be, who knows? Like over time, could be like pieces of a person's body. Let's say a person who lived like 1,000 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like different, the bacteria and all the things that decompose them, those things could be already like, thousands of miles apart from each other, let's say.
Yeah.
Okay, so now here's what they're saying. It's not like they're saying like there's going to be a brand new body that's going to come and that person, and it's going to be similar to the original body, and the consciousness of that person is going to inhabit this new body. No, that's not what a resurrection is. Nope.
Yeah.
They want to really take it far and go like this. Every little tiny bit of the original body, regardless of where it is in the universe, let's say aliens came and took a soil sample and took it to, the Andromeda galaxy or, whatever, okay? So no, those pieces of the original person, they got to come back from Andromeda. That's you think I'm exaggerating?
No.
No. This is it.
Because it's all one universe. It's all one.
Right.
What's it called? Yeah.
Right. So the question is, how the hell is this going to happen? So basically, it's saying that the way it's going to look like something in Rewind.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So, what is it?
I said it makes sense.
Okay. So, yeah, sure. No. So here's what I.
Can I pause you for a second? That what just made me think of when you said it's going to look like it's something in Rewind? It made me think of that Russell Peters. There's a Russell Peters skit he does where he's like, the Russian guy that comes over to fix his house. And he's like, you ever hear guys talking Russian? It just sounds like people talking backwards, and then he just starts walking around the stage backwards and going, this your words did it, no, and it just sounds like something being rewound, That's what Russian sounds like.
It does. The side point, do you ever feel this? Whenever I hear Portuguese spoken at a distance,
they
it
have
sounds
a
like
similar.
Russian to me.
Well, people when they speak English, Portuguese people speak English, they have the same accent as Russians.
Not just like any Russians, but freaking одесситы.
Correct. You ever hear Jose Mourinho speaking English? Then I put this guy over here, and I went over there, and we made 11 players, and then we had 10, and you wanna go do tricks, and papa pia papa pa, and papa pia papa. I literally am watching him, and I'm like, look, I see my uncle on the boardwalk.
There's something, yeah. There's
how we play every day. We play like this, and we were playing Manchester United like that, and then we went over here and we lost this game. Boys, you are very nice boys, but you have to be nasty in the game. Papa pia papa pa, papa pia papa pa. Dude, the guy's Portuguese. He sounds like a Russian Jew on Brighton.
Yeah, he sounds like an idiot.
Sorry.
He's like, не стой там, как голландский сыр.
Да, ты же стоишь, как этот клоун.
Как голландский сыр под солнце. Не воняй, как голландский сыр под солнце.
Anyway.
Which means don't say stupid things. Somehow. Yeah. Somehow, that's what it means. I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. I should translate. The Russian expression was, this is apparently connected to people from Odessa.
Odessa, yeah.
You know the joke? Он говорит, извините, откуда вы? Я с Одессы. Он говорит, он с Одессы. Right? Like, yeah. He doesn't even know how to say Odessa.
Yeah, you have to translate his pronunciation of Odessa. That's funny.
Right. So basically, the expression that this from Odessa is when someone says to you, "Don't stand there and stink like Dutch cheese under the sun."
Yes.
What that means is you're saying things that are silly.
Yeah. So weird.
Nonsensical things, right?
Yeah.
Somehow that. Yeah. Anyway, that's basically gangsta language.
That's right. Anyway,
but back to the point.
So you were talking about the rewind. Yeah.
Okay, so it's actually not a rewind per se.
Yeah.
It is a so entropy, right, is not the natural state of existence. If you recall, God created a universe, this universe that we're inhabited right now, right?
Yeah.
Before it was fractured, right?
Yeah.
Where there's no death and nothing falls apart. No entropy in God's when Adam woke up, when he was created, there was no entropy in that reality. At all. Okay? Fresh as a daisy, forever. There was no forever. There was no time as we experience it. Okay? So, time as we experience it is part of that fracture. Okay? So, that's part of the zuhama, the snake poison. Okay? So, again, entropy equals snake poison. Which means that everything that God ever created, any organized structure or living being, right? Its natural state of being is to be in its original state. So the question is, why isn't it like that now? Like the reality that God created, like he created this creature and that creature, that's an infinite reality. That's eternal. Temporarily, it's not in that state. So what is it that is keeping it from its default setting? So the default setting of life is to be alive.
Yeah.
Okay? What I mean is, no, life lives. That would be the consciousness and the spirit, the soul, and beyond of a being. But even their body, even their vessel, the default setting is for the being to be in its vessel.
Yeah.
Okay? So the default setting of a human being is to be in its body.
Oh, can you just give me 1 second? Just one.
Yeah.
1 second. Sorry. All right. Anyway, you were saying.
Yeah. So the default state of a creature is to be together with its intended vessel.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that means whatever body somebody inhabited, that's their body. I'm not saying like, this body wasn't their intended vessel. I'm not saying that. If a consciousness was paired with a vessel, that's the vessel that they were intended to be. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, why isn't it like that now? What is this force that's keeping the default setting not that way? You understand? Here's another way of saying it. So each different particle that makes up your vessel are magnetically attracted to each other with extreme power, meaning they cannot be separated. So people whose vessels have decomposed, that is a unnatural state of being. That's not what the particles want to do. They're all magnetically attracted to each other in the first place. You're not going to have to convince them to come back together. And it doesn't matter where they are in the universe. Location doesn't matter. Okay? So there's something that is interfering with a default setting. Let's say you have like two magnets, right? When naturally, if you leave them alone, you'll see they'll stick together, right? So you got to apply a force to keep them apart. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Once you remove that force, this unnatural force that's not allowing default to be, right? Then then things snap back to their default setting instantaneously.
Yeah.
They don't need coercion.
Yeah, of course.
So the zuhama, this snake poison, will vanish from the picture. Yeah. And then so the world will just go back automatically to its state. It's not going to take work. It just is.
Yeah.
In its natural state. It'll just snap back. Everything is magnetically, I'm using, attracted to each other, things that belong together, because God's word stands.
Yeah.
So you have to be interfering with the natural state of something, and it's like it's kind of like trying to, if you have a boat with a hole in it, and you have a bucket, and you're trying to, get the water outside of the boat with the bucket, but the water keeps flowing in, right? Yeah. So the zuhama, or the sitra achra, is that idiot with the bucket who's trying to delay the inevitable.
Yeah.
Desperately.
Yeah.
That's what these idiots are doing that we're seeing in the news.
But the thing is, it's not just these idiots. It's good people who are getting sucked into that chasm, into that vortex, and you're trying to pull them out.
No, I get that. I'm speaking very generally.
Yeah.
I'm speaking very generally. I'm just talking about the
principles. The people that I'm talking about are like my parents' friends who grew up in the Soviet Union and who just are so in the narrative that it's like, I just want to kick them in the nuts to wake them up, not because I don't like them.
Okay, so what you're describing is the universe being greatly affected by this foreign, unnatural thing that doesn't exist, it's not supposed to be existing there, that's going to be removed, called entropy. People are affected by it. Yeah. There's people who have not been paired with their vessel for a very, very long time. Yeah. That's the same idea, basically. Yeah. Like people who are stuck in the narrative.
It's these people who they know evil exists, and they talk about how they were dissidents in the Soviet Union. They talk about how they knew, some of them knew Sharansky, just like my parents knew him. They talk about how they had some relatives that went through like I don't know, Holodomor or whatever it is, whatever it is, like Baba Yar, Holocaust, Schmolocaust, but yet they cannot imagine a scenario where the same type of evil, or even worse, and so covert and so sinister can exist in their lifetime, that it will come under the guise of helping people medically. They can't even imagine it.
The people in those times too. Like
I know they couldn't.
I have relatives who were killed in Baba Yar.
Yeah, they couldn't imagine. It's like
they couldn't imagine until the last moment.
Dude, I told you the story before. Maybe if I didn't, I'm gonna say it again. My grandfather.
I have to interject because we're gonna get too far. And this is
no, it's just it's related. I'm like.
Here's why they can't imagine.
Yeah.
Because regular people, right? In their essence, are not part of the Zuoma.
Yeah.
Okay? And so the natural state of a person who is normal is someone who cannot relate to deep, ugly, disgusting demon beasts.
Yeah.
Who want to do the things they want to do.
So why can you and I, why are we capable of doing that?
We're not. We think we are. We're in a sense we're borrowing wisdom that some part of us, like intellectually, understands is real, but we can't. The reality of violence is different than how a person thinks and feels about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Most people are not prepared for the reality of violence until they've experienced it.
Not even you and I. Do you think, like today I thought about this, when I listened to our old podcast, the clip about, there was a part where you and I mentioned how, Fauci, is like a joke, but not really, Mousy deserves the same punishment as the monkeys that he tortured, right? But what would happen if we actually saw that happen? If you and I actually saw that happen, would we like...
We would realize that remember we get to the point where like forget about the tribunals, let's get straight to the redemption.
We realize we're no better than these evil MFers.
No. I don't think so. I think we'd realize that this is not
what we wanted.
This is not what I want. This is not what I'm interested. I'd rather this not exist than for justice to be done. Yeah. Let him and this whole idea disappear.
Yeah.
You understand? Let the evil just disappear entirely. I don't need to see it punished. Let it just vanish and let people live.
But then that eliminates the whole aspect of the Yesh Din, Yesh Dayan, and Hashem's aspect of Din and all these kind of things.
So I'm connecting more to the point of that. If this whole aspect of Din, right?
Yeah.
Justice will keep us in exile forever.
I know.
Okay? So there has to be a stop to this damn justice stupidity.
Dude, can I quickly say the analogy that I use, and I think I mentioned this to you before. If I didn't, maybe it's the first time you'll hear it. Again, like my grandfather came to my great-grandfather in Berdichev. This is 1939. He was already an officer, and he came, so my grandfather had a first wife, with a kid on the way, and he came to my great-grandfather, Yankel Pinchas, and he said, we have to get out of here. You have to get out of here. He's like, why? He's like, well, the Germans are coming. He's like, okay, so what? He's like, the Germans, what's wrong with you, man? He's like, you're spreading, you're yakking conspiracy theories. The Germans helped us in World War I. So I liken, his main enemy was, my great-grandfather's main enemy, just like many other people, was Stalin, a.k.a. Schmovid. And they believed that Schmittler was going to be a good vaccine against Schmovid. But Schmittler was even worse. And Schmittler and Schmalin were actually friends before the Great War. Not the Great War, but before the Second War. They were, so to speak, plotting together. Okay? And just like the people who made this Schmovid are the same people that are now shoving this Schmexine in our face.
Time out.
Two sides of the same coin.
Hold the thought.
Yeah.
I gotta pee. It's critical.
Quite appropriate.
All right.
And we're back. Okay.
Did you hold your thought?
Yes. So yeah,
You put it down.
So yeah, I mean, like, people think that basically Schmittler is going to save them from Stalin, and they really, really believe it. They've been convinced of it, and the scientists who developed this, how should I put it? This blitzkrieg, and it was done via blitzkrieg. You know, the dissemination of this stuff by a serious blitzkrieg. And they believe that the blitzkrieg is some people disagree with the blitzkrieg method, but they agree with they agree that the forces should come. That the Luftwaffe and the Panzer tanks are here to save them from Schmalin. But they're not. They're here to run them over and set up shop. How you like that?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but I don't know, man. Like, I feel in our case, it's more like just, again, like you're saying, we're borrowing from the lessons of the past or whatever it is. But even to do that, it takes a certain amount of just non-Zoma mentality, thinking, whatever. Why are we like this? And why are it's like The Office. Why are you the way that you are? Everybody's like, you always got to ruin everything. You always got to ruin a good time. Why are you the way that you are? Why are we the way that we are? We always have to ruin a good time. Everybody's trying to get back to normal.
Very interesting. I was just literally just thinking about this whole notion of where does this whole thing about people come to ruin the party?
Yeah.
Where is it rooted in? So it's rooted in, believe it or not, the Olam HaTohu.
Yeah. So
you have these worlds, these quote-unquote pre-Genesis universes, right?
Yeah.
Which are, this is a very general way of talking about them, okay? And it's not giving you the details that you're going to want to hear. Like, what did their houses look like? And what kind of UFOs did they fly? And what were their dinosaurs like, okay? That's what people want to know about those universes. But here's some stuff that you probably didn't know you need to know.
Yeah.
Each universe is described as a sphera, okay?
Yeah.
But it's different from the way that the spherot were configured in the previous universes is very different than the way the spherot we're attempting to configure them in this universe, okay? This universe is being built to be a stable configuration. The previous universes were the spherot not working together.
Yeah.
Okay? Each one tried to dominate the other.
Yeah.
The root of this is this dinim kashim. There's a lot of terms that are used for it, okay?
Yeah.
But this is like, this is the extra din that God wanted to remove from the universe that he had initially installed.
Yeah.
Okay? Because this is the way it's described, it's taught in a midrashic, with midrashic comments, midrashic statements, excuse me, okay? So basically the statements are like this. God saw that the judgment, that creating a world based on pure judgment will be impossible for the world to exist, because instant justice means that no one can exist, because no one can measure up to the ultimate level of reality, which is there's nothing but God, which means that if a creature that has a sense of itself is automatically sinning to a certain level, right? Yeah. How could you even it's kind of a strange thing, but like, how could you even imagine that there's that you are a thing?
Yeah.
Just that thought itself is like is negating reality, right? Yeah. So there needs to be some level of negating the ultimate reality, which is that there is nothing but God.
Yeah.
Okay? But the universe that is pure justice will not tolerate even that.
Yeah. And we're not tolerating insolence.
Yes. So God had to remove a portion, a smidgen of this justice, this absolute justice, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the universe to even exist and for the creatures within it to have any chance of existing. Okay? So he tempered the universe with a level of mercy.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's not pure justice. Okay? So when we were talking about this whole tribunals and what are we going to do how are we going to punish these guys, with all the horror that they did.
Yeah.
So what I'm hoping for is that measure of mercy finally comes into play. And I know there's going to be a bunch of wise guys and rabbis say, "Oh, you don't know how much mercy you get every day, all day." Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question now? What is it about? What is it in your brother that doesn't necessarily want that he actually Dafka wants to witness? At the risk of saying he's a little more violent than you.
He's not. He's not.
Yeah. Meaning he's helped a lot of people, so you can't say that.
He's emotional.
Yeah.
Because he has a very unique perspective.
Yeah.
Because as a doctor who's trying to save all these people, when you see somebody who is literally trying to destroy what you're trying to save, it's hard to keep it emotionally. You just want
to get rid of the guy. You just want to put him in blocks of cement.
It's tough to be zen about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, he's a human being.
Of course.
Yeah. But when the drama subsides.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think it's my opinion. I can't speak for him. Okay, I'm not speaking for him. I'm just telling you what I think. Okay? And I could be wrong, but I think that he would just kind of not want to bother with it. He'd want to just go and enjoy his life and not get bogged down in the in the whole thing about the revenge game. To see the satisfaction of justice being played out. Because honestly, even people who want to see justice done in a righteous way, right? The only way to actually do justice correctly is to actually say and feel that the only reason why we're pursuing justice is to make God happy. If any part of that is personal, that's not holy justice.
I don't even think it in terms of personal. Like it goes back to me. It's something that nobody has said until I met that pharmacist guy in Brooklyn, and he said out loud in front of like customers, he goes, they should do a very public tribunal so that if anybody else thinks about doing something like this again, which is whatever, then it's like a deterrent. But then I was like, they did that already 80 years ago, and clearly you see, ain't nobody learned nothing. I guess enough time passed. They were like, oh, I guess we can try this again. Another German came along. Now he's the head of the World Economic Forum, and now I can try nanobots. And my father had to build nuclear weapons for Hitler, and he did not succeed. But I will succeed where he failed.
Hitler did not have nanobots.
He had not had nanobots. I have them. We do not need to drop nuclear weapons. We just tell people, oh, this will save you, and slowly we will get rid of them. Yeah, man. So I was like, I don't know what your tribunals are going to teach anybody. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I don't.
That whole sense of wanting to see, getting some satisfaction, right?
Yeah.
Is because people don't. And by the way, I'm not criticizing them at all. Yeah. And I very often feel this way. It's very difficult not to.
Yeah.
But it's an indirect, somewhat unconscious anger against God.
Yeah.
It's saying that it hurts so much what you're doing, God, that I wish I could hurt you back.
Yeah.
And I know that I can't hurt you, but I can show you that I want to hurt you.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna hurt the tool that you use to do this to the world.
Yeah. Basically.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Not in a conscious way, but I think if that's probably what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Okay, but so that's the reality of true. That's honesty. Okay. Now people are so terrified of thinking that and saying that, especially if you are a person who believes in God, right?
Yeah.
So you had different approaches to how to deal with that indirectly. Some religions create a second God, which is bad. Okay, Zoroastrianism.
Yeah.
I believe Christianity does the same thing.
Yeah.
Now listen, I'm not picking on Christianity.
Yeah.
And I'm not picking on Christians who believe what they believe.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, I believe that God wants them and wants to have a relationship with Christians.
Yeah.
Because they're beautiful. And I believe that their beauty, which they probably think comes from their Christianity, it actually outshines it.
Yeah.
Their natural beauty as people, they see in Christianity love, kindness, charity, peace, all of these positive things, which are incorporated into Christianity. Yeah. So they're attracted to those things because that's who they are in the first place. Yeah. Okay? But in terms of, getting God right, how to think about him, I'm not worried that Christians, don't see it right. You know why? Yeah. Because I believe God will come and he will explain, he will take care of that whole thing. Yeah. God will come and he will show how he wants people to look at him very soon. Like, when Mashiach comes, that's really what it's about. Like God, people won't have to, do this mental gymnastics to try to figure out what God is or how to think about him. Is he, this whole thing. Okay. I'm not worried that they're not gonna burn in hell for all eternity. They're not gonna burn in hell at all. Yeah. Because really, I'm sure you've heard this a lot. Yeah. When it comes to the brass tacks, as they say,
yeah,
it doesn't matter that much to God what you believe, but it's what you do.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay?
That's true.
You can believe or not believe, but if you do the right thing, that's good enough for God.
So can I ask you a question? What happened with certain elements in the Orthodox Jewish world to where they will vehemently disagree with what you're saying?
Let them disagree. I don't give a damn.
And not only did they disagree, they have valid and legitimate sources to back up what they're saying.
Give me an example. Let's
if you talk to certain people from the Litvak world, they'll say no, it does matter what you believe. In Christianity, that's again, that's why the Rebbe Dafka was saying people should shift.
That's the primary thing that matters, what you believe.
No, meaning what I'm saying is even the Rebbe was well, we should get people over to Sheva Mitzvah B'nai Noach from Christianity. We should encourage them.
We have to. Listen.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
What I'm saying is like this. We have to try our absolute best with every ounce of our energy to try to talk to people and discuss with them what as much as we are capable of. Okay? But 13 million people are not going to do that to 8 billion people.
That's true.
What I'm saying is,
though you never know, but you're generally speaking, you're right.
Well, Mashiach is gonna, he's gonna do that. Yeah. Okay, that's really what I'm saying. That they're not going to be left floundering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's my point. Ultimately, we have to do as much as we can to whoever would listen to us, whoever we can influence in a positive way.
Yeah.
Right. Non-pushy. Yeah. Staying in line with the whole idea of free will.
Yeah.
We're not going to say accept God or the sword.
Yeah.
Right. That's sure. That's not really what this is about.
Can I tell you something? There was actually a Yemenite Jewish prince whose name was Dunuwas. He lived, I want to say, in the 1500s, and he tried to convert, or he did convert Christians in Yemen by the sword.
Yeah, but that always ends in, we have examples how that always ends in disaster.
Yeah.
In Tanakh.
But there's a street
whenever
name.
you're reading Tanakh, by the way, guys, listen to this. When you are reading the prophets, you are reading the book of Judges, the book of Samuel, the book of Kings, the prophets, all of these books, right? You are reading the horrible stuff that you're not supposed to repeat.
Yeah.
That's what that is. It's saying, don't let this happen to you. That's what this. It's not something to mimic.
Yeah.
Okay? So
why do people just like you use all the stories to delegitimize the Bible or the Torah?
What do you mean?
No, they're always like, every time I hear of like a Bible critic or any kind of person like atheist, they're always like, have you read the Bible? It's full of horror. Hashem is supposed to be good. Have you read the Bible? And you follow these people? And you follow this?
Yeah, they have a point. Except, look, you know what Larry King said?
What?
God rest his soul.
What is
it? Larry King said that I can't believe in a God. He was making statements which were not real. They were just emotional reaction. He was saying that how could there be? Why would God allow the Boston Marathon bomber?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
or,
for sure.
If there was a God and he was able to, wouldn't he stop it if he's good?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just say let's take this. Let's step into the purely philosophical booth for a second here. Let's divorce all concepts from their reality and let's just talk hypothetically, right?
Yeah.
So you don't believe that there's a God because you don't like what he does.
Mm-hmm.
What if he's just a prick? That's not a possibility.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's the reality.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, how come that isn't? If you're trying to be intellectually honest, why isn't that
an option?
The second thought or the first thought that you go to?
Yeah.
So because you don't like what he does and it feels wrong, you're just going to say, "Oh, he doesn't exist because he wouldn't do this."
Yeah.
He wouldn't do. The infinite God, the creator of all existence, doesn't exist because he doesn't do what you think is right.
No, because we're always told that God is goodness. That's what we're always told. So it's like.
Yeah. No, but.
Kel, can you hold on 1 second? Can you give me hold on a second, man? I'm so sorry. I have no other words for this. No other words. That I'm gonna stop right there.
Брежнев Леонид в детстве был аид.
Oh my God! Actually, you know that Andropov was Jewish, by the way.
I am ashamed to say that I've heard of Andropov, but I cannot place who he is at this moment.
He's the guy before Gorbachev.
He was right. He was the premier.
The short interim guy, the short-lived interim guy, who was actually the head of the KGB. That's why he became the premier after.
Lovely.
What's his face?
Lovely.
Brezhnev. Anyway,
lovely.
You were saying about the Hashem being a not nice person.
Yeah. Right. So we're speaking entirely hypothetically, completely divorced from reality. We're just speaking in terms of intellectual argument. Okay. I'm trying not to get zapped from Oh man, Richard Belzer, remember that comedian?
Yes, I just saw him 2 days ago. I was watching Law and Order, and he was making funny quips. His character was.
Yeah.
He's a stand-up guy.
He did, in his stand-up, he did this thing about, like, he's like, he goes, he's like something like, Bruce Springsteen is so rich, even God borrows money from him, or something like that, right? So he goes, "Oh, you're worried I'm making fun of God? Well, what is he going to do? Strike me down?" Or all of a sudden he pretends to have a heart attack and collapses.
Yeah.
He does that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, so basically, so if somebody says, like, a similar argument to Larry King, who was alive in a different dimension, who sees the truth entirely, and is not experiencing shame or anything of that, all that nonsense. Listen, I think it's God's fault that he was in that situation in the first place. God put him in a situation of darkness where I don't think he ever really had a chance to hear a proper response to this. So I don't think that he's suffering for it. But I don't think so. But so God takes into consideration everybody's situation. Like, God knows where he put somebody. You know what I mean? Like, if he puts you in Krasnodar, you know, like that's like a Cossack Mecca, okay? And you know, and he doesn't expect you to be a Talmud Chacham, right? I'm just using hyperbole here, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. So the argument would be like, well, okay, so because you don't like what God does, or it doesn't seem good to you, right? Which is understandable. Okay. But that means that God doesn't exist. What if God is just a mean guy, or whatever, right? What if he's mean? The fact that bad things happen that go against your sense of, you know, what good and bad is, that doesn't negate the existence of a God who does stuff that you don't like. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that's just a very stupid argument. So what it really is saying that, like, I don't want to live in a reality where God does mean stuff that I don't like. That's what that statement is. So when you have people who deny God because of horror, right? That's not.
Yeah.
I don't buy that as a real denial. I don't accept that as a true atheist. That's just an emotional person who is lashing out in an angstful way, saying, "How can this be reality, God? How could you do this?" It's a plea to God. An atheist is pleading to God, just like your Soviet relative who says, "Oh, don't worry, when I'm not around, you guys won't be burdened by me." Right? It's the same thing. It's an indirect way of saying, "Please don't tell me that you consider me a burden and you want me gone." And it's the same thing when an atheist says, "God can't possibly exist because of all this horror. If he was a God, if there was a God, he wouldn't let it happen," and yada yada yada. What that really means is, God, how could you do this? How could you do this? That's my take on it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, unless you're directly hooked into the Sitra Achra, and that's a whole separate, category. But maybe not. Yeah. Maybe on its deepest level, even the Sitra Achra itself is like saying, has its own issues with God. Okay, so yeah, so that's that's the argument. That's what I say to Larry if I had the chance.
Can I just tell you very quickly, as you were explaining this whole thing, a friend of mine who is a person, I guess you can call him whatever. He grew up Lubavitch. His parents are Baalei Tshuva, and he has his, let's say, doubts about everything. Even though he learned Hasidut on a deeper level, and there's different hashkafa and just Torah in many different ways. Every so often he'll write something about some sort of archaeological thing that doesn't line up with the Torah or something or this or that, the usual stuff.
Yeah.
And we kind of have back and forths with him. At some point, this is in a group, and I just wrote as you're explaining that. I just wrote, God doesn't exist. The end. Let's just go with that. Life is random. God isn't real. Let's move on. This is me writing to him. You're right. Torah is fake. Jews are just the people who survived. Awesome. End of conversation. Let's talk about the NFL playoffs and things and stuff. I want to talk about football. I can talk about it all day. And then he's like, I'm the gaslighting troll. And I go, no, sarcastically he wrote that. And I wrote, I want Bengals versus 49ers, the rematch of the 1988 Super Bowl. And I'm like, I'm being serious, man. I'm tired of meaningful things and or these discussions. They exhaust me. That's what I wrote to him. And he's like, woo, what? I think I just threw him for a loop.
Yeah, man. If he knew the math, he wouldn't be. He wouldn't even be able to lie to himself.
Listen, all these so-called Talmidei Chachamim, when you bring up the math and the gematria to them, they're like, oh, that's cute. That's cute. That's cute Baal Tshuva talk. Cute. It's very cute, but that's not the ikr of the, that's not the ikr of the thing.
Those guys aren't religious. Because they want to stay in the state of mind where they can always create some level of disconnect when it's convenient. You understand?
That's true. You're right. You're right.
Okay? Yeah. It's sort of like saying, I heard, I can't remember who it was. It could have been Manis Friedman. He was saying, too, he was telling a story about Rabbi Shochet, the philosopher, the professor of philosophy at a university in Humboldt College in Canada. Okay, and famous Chabad chassid. And he had a skeptic Jewish student, young lady, and who constantly, would troll him or whatever, try to. You're not going to troll Emmanuel Shochet, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
I like I like to see a young person who thinks they could take him on, and I like to see that almost T-Rex look at his face like lunch. You know what I mean? We have to have a whole conversation about Rabbi Shochet. He's just this awesome guy who is the scourge of missionaries, of trolls, and of all these people. They dare not say his name. You hear me?
Yes.
So this one girl, he was talking to her and he said, "Look, I can prove to you that God exists, and I will do that. But you have to promise me that if I show it to you, and you concede, meaning of your own volition, right? That you recognize that it's true and you see it, you agree with it. You must change your life and apply this information that you're seeing to and begin to fulfill God's will." She said, "I don't want to see the proof."
Exactly.
That's exactly what we're describing.
That's precise. Yeah.
Okay, you can float around in a beautiful world of philosophy, of hashkafa and morals and stuff like that, and then always just keep enough distance from certainty that you don't ever have to really commit.
It always goes back to Cypher from Matrix. Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. Okay.
Is the steak is juicy and delicious, but is it real?
Doesn't matter, right? To Cypher, it didn't matter, right?
Yep.
Okay, so basically, and let's reconnect to what we were talking about right before that. Do you recall? Because I'm my excuse for everything is getting zapped. So I've gotten zapped. I can't remember what. So justice. Excuse me. The theme of this whole episode, and that's amazing divine providence that it's episode 44, and we'll get to that at the end. Okay. Just on a side note, I don't want to get into this right now because I just want to finish a couple of points which are important. But remember, we were talking about Tesla, and you were reading some of the statements that he made. And one of the statements was about it's about something about empty space or matter being where its energy has not been released yet. Its potential has not been released yet. Remember, you were reading a statement like that. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you to find that statement if you can, and then say it again.
And wait, matter has not been released yet. This is Tesla, right?
Correct.
Yes. Quote. It was a quote. Okay.
It was a quote. Yeah.
Nicola.
Okay, so just hold on to it. Hold on to it.
Oh, you want me to read? You don't want me to read it now?
Not right now. I just want to. We have to tie up the whole justice thing.
Okay.
So we were talking about this justice, that there was too much strict justice in the way God originally created the world. He had to remove some of it and temper the world with a smidgen of mercy, some measure of mercy. Okay, and that's the mercy that I'm relying on because all of these tribunals and all this kind of stuff, right? Like, I want my uncle to heal and to be alive. I want Mashiach to come and save us now. I would trade that for all of the seeing all the tribunals and all the punishment, for all that kind of stuff. I don't care if you understand what I'm saying. If I can get my uncle time is running out for me. For me personally, because that's not a loss I can bear. Okay? So I don't care about justice. I need that measure of mercy now. Now. It's not in the future. Not hypothetically, not in the future. Yeah. Not when we're ready. Fuck that. Yeah. Forget ready. No more ready. We're never going to be ready. Enough of that. Yeah. Enough justice.
It's like getting married. It's like guys who say, "Oh, I'm not ready. I'm not ready." Who's going to be ready? When is anybody ready?
And you just said something that was divinely inspired, you know? Because you know how this whole thing we were talking about earlier about like God wants to have a relationship with you, the you of you, not the stuff that pertains to you, not your looks, not your wonderful personality, not your ability to fold the sheets nicely. That's not at all what God wants. And Rabbi Kessin often brings up this whole idea of Name de Ksupa, right? That's an Aramaic term, which means the bread of shame. Yeah. So I don't know why God did this, but we were instilled, or we were created with a desire, a will, or I don't know if we were created. It could be that part of us, that indefinable, unreachable, part of us that it's not unreachable, but it's undefinable, basically. You can't say words, you can't think about it, okay? But you can feel it, and you don't have to feel it, you are it. That's the thing. But you just can't describe what you are, that's all, okay? Yeah. Now, somewhere in that mystery, okay, is this thing that we call the bread of shame. The bread of shame is where you feel like you need to deserve what you get. So apparently it boils down to this. God is so awesome and wonderful and beautiful and perfect that we feel ashamed that we are an inadequate partner. We're not a match. We don't feel like we're a match for God in this relationship. Okay? Yeah. So God gave us the opportunity to deserve the relationship. Yeah. But ultimately, when you look at it, the reality, there's never, even if God gave you eternity to fix yourself to deserve it, you'll never be a match. God will always be infinitely greater. No matter what you achieve, God will always be infinity ahead of you. That's just that's what it is. Okay? Which means at some point you're going to have to say, okay, God, I'm not going to focus on my inadequacy. I'm just going to focus on the fact that you want a relationship, even though I don't get it. I'm fat. I got love handles. I got like warts, and pimples, and I'm hairy all over the place. And somehow you find this attractive. I don't get it. But you want this relationship deeply. I'm going to just do that because how much of you want. That's what has to happen at some point.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why we're never going to deserve the Mashiach to come. We're never going to deserve for, you understand what I'm saying? Like that's not people who keep talking about, the justice hasn't been satisfied yet. No, that can't be. That can't be. Okay? Yeah. For this reality to end and for the good reality to begin, this whole idea of accepting ourselves as something God wants to have a relationship with. Forget about the whole thing of deserving. We're never going to make it. Okay? You'll never be, just to create a very crude, like you want to be, if you're in love with the most beautiful woman that can ever possibly exist, right? And you'll never be as beautiful as her, no matter what.
You'll never be good enough for her, so to speak.
Not good enough. Like she wants you, but not in a way that you can understand, and that bothers you. You can't handle that. Yeah. Right? You want to feel that you are a match. Yeah. Okay, but you can't tell what she wants about you. Okay, look, you're never gonna your six pack will never measure up to her, whatever her version of whatever that is. Okay, so just understand. Have to rise above. And I'm talking to myself, by the way. This is the hardest thing for me, okay? to be like, okay, I guess they, I get, because like Patrice O'Neal says, you know what I mean? Like he goes, I'm a fat mother effer, right?
Yeah.
And my girlfriend is like, she's a good looking lady, and sometimes when I'm looking at myself in the mirror, I'm like, man, what is she up to? You know what I mean? Like she's there's something doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
So. And he struggled with that too.
But he doesn't. Wait. But he didn't understand that women fall in love with their ears, not with their eyes, and men fall in love with their eyes. He didn't get that.
In a different stand-up, he goes, guys don't understand. He goes, women, they could, we love, the way you look and the sexiness of you, right?
Yeah.
But women, they can love us for all sorts of weird things, like, and then he goes, he's smart. He's doing an impression of a girl. He's really smart.
Yeah.
He's very funny. Like stuff like that. Yeah. Where they can actually love you for that.
For real stuff. Yeah.
You know why? Because no pretty guy will ever be a match for a pretty girl.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Like it's a guy's prettiness, no matter how the prettiest guy that there can never be a match.
But we see that we see that all the time now, even in adults. We see that like all over. It's all over Instagram. Married couples. It's all over the damn place.
What are you talking about?
Like good-looking dudes with like hot chicks. You see it all the time, damn time.
No, what I'm saying is that the guy, no matter how much he works on himself and tries to get the dolphin skin and the hair and whatever, he's never going to be as pretty as the pretty girl.
Well, for sure. No, but that's not like... It's funny, actually. What women find attractive in men is Dafka, the leather face, gray hair situation. That's what they like.
Yeah, because they are pretty enough for both of us.
Not only that, they think that actually is more attractive than the dolphin face guy.
No.
I'm serious, yeah.
No. Women, they need to be the center of the beauty part.
That's true, also.
They don't need competition.
True. That's true.
They don't need beauty. They bring the beauty to the equation. They don't need competition.
That is true.
With their boyfriend.
That's true.
So we bring the non-beauty part. That's what they're attracted to. The stuff that makes us seem like men to them. The first time I heard something.
Well, I don't know, man. I see too many. So why am I seeing all these these frum couples where I'm not talking about Lubavitchers. I'm talking about like these yeshivish people where it's like the guy looks like he just came out of like a frum version of Backstreet Boys. I see enough of those. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
But hold on, those guys have to get married too, don't they?
No, I'm talking about there's like pictures of them, like engagement pictures. So they're getting married to like
all right.
Beautiful girls. So like, what's up with that?
Well, it's the same. It's just like what we said. He's not as beautiful as her.
They're pretty equal, I would say. In their own. He's for a guy and she's for a girl. They are. I'm telling you, they are.
No. There's
a match.
There's a logical flaw.
Okay.
There's the girl does not like. You have like, let's say, a teenage girl, right? Like really young, immature girl. She likes boys that look kind of like pretty girls. Yeah. Because she's not.
You're saying even the 21-year-olds, because her brain is not developed to understand what a man is.
They are regressed.
Yeah.
Okay. So as a woman gets older, she's attracted to the more masculine features.
But I even see that in like 30-year-old women.
We're talking about regression.
It's an infantilized generation.
Again, that is the Zuhama. Yeah. Remember we were talking about like you have the default setting of what, like, let's say a woman was not bogged down by all the woke garbage that she thinks that she needs to be bogged down by, right? Yeah. And she just reacted in terms of attraction to the purely instinctual, like she didn't lie to herself about what she likes or what she should like. Okay? Yeah. So more often than not, you're going to have women attracted to whatever masculine, testosterone-y thing that appeals to her instincts. You understand? Yeah. So, and it's not going to be trying to find a pretty, like someone as pretty as her. That's not what it's going to... She's, like, you have these, like, you mentioned before, like these Demi Moores trying to, marry or have relationships with these younger guys. That is a social statement. That is not.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so that is what they would call a boy toy, and it's a power trip.
Yeah, and it's definitely one of those like cheek chock, easy come easy go wedding situations, just like any other.
Right. They want to, do they really want that?
No.
It's not. Probably not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's because women their default setting is not pure lust all the time. That it can be sometimes.
It seems
or
like
for some women a little bit more often, but not most of the time.
It seems like it's turning into that, or it seems like they've been taught that that's what's supposed to be.
That is the zuhama, keeping something from its default setting.
Yeah. In
the form of a woke mindset.
Yeah.
Where you're not honest with your actual true feelings.
Yeah.
Okay, what you really, really want, what you're really attracted to.
Yeah.
Okay? It's a statement. It's a political statement, mostly.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, an older lady, okay, does not want a little, like a little bunny. You understand? Like they don't have the energy. Even as much as they want to think that they do, they want to hold on to their youth, and they think that that's going to be a tool to do it. Yeah. It's just they're okay. So there's this movie I can't remember with Whoopi Goldberg and Ted Danson. This is in the 90s.
Yeah, I remember. Oh my God, this movie would never be released today.
Remember when
he's in blackface? It would never be released today.
No. Whoopi's daughter in the movie, right? She found out that she was a child of artificial insemination.
Yes.
And then she wanted to go find who her father was, and then the place where they did the insemination told them that her father was Ted Danza, this white used car salesman who has a couple of used car. He has he's one of these kind of like game show host type of sleazy salesman guys, right? But the cowboy style, right? And this is somewhere in L.A. And so he is like an older guy. He's playing a middle-aged guy, and his girlfriend is like this crazy kind of like vapid fitness freak. And then the whole movie is hilarious. He's like always tired. Yeah. He's like, get away from me. Like he can't handle it. You know what I mean? She's too much energy. Yeah. Okay. So an older lady is making a statement. Perhaps once in a while she enjoys, the young, virile, whatever. But not. It's not gonna. That can't happen. When you revert to your default setting, when you're tired of the political statement, and you revert to your base instincts, you want something else that doesn't match with the political statement.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway.
So ultimately, how do we?
So Name Diksufa. That's where we got off on this. Okay.
Yeah.
Name Diksufa, this bread of shame, is related greatly to the idea of enough with the justice, because the bread of shame is I want to deserve it. Deserving is justice, right? But you're never going to deserve it. Okay? So you have to understand that and just accept that God wants you, not some stuff about you, but you, and wants it for some reason, which may be outside of your ability to ever understand, and just accept it. And then maybe once that understanding occurs, the whole Gan Eden reality can snap into effect.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Zuhama can disappear, and then everything that was alive and paired with its vessel automatically snaps back into that reality without any, you're not going to need no effort involved. Okay. And so I think we touched upon that pretty good, but do you still have any energy for the Tesla thing?
The Tesla thing. No, but which quote were you talking? I can't remember which quote it was. Was it the
Can't
one
find
where
it.
when? Is it the one where people like have to study non physical phenomena? Is that?
It's the one that you were talking about. Free energy.
Hold
He
on.
was explaining what energy, what empty space is. He said it's some kind
Free
of
energy.
untapped.
I mean, he had a quote where he said, "No free energy device will ever be allowed to reach the market." Ah, here we go. All peoples everywhere. Hold on 1 second. No, this is more like practical. Um, 1 second. Uh, Drive machinery. Um, no, free energy. That's no. Yeah. I can't remember.
I'm gonna Google it now. I'm gonna say Tesla quotes about energy.
It had the word energy in the quote.
I think so.
Um, I mean, I can't find it.
Okay, so let's see. 2021 electrifying Nikola Tesla quotes. Okay, so let's see. Okay. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, vibration. I don't care that they stole my idea. Sounds
Yeah,
like my brother.
yeah.
Uh, I don't care that they
I
stole
can't that
my
they're using it
idea.
wrong.
I care that they don't have any of their own. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good.
Scientists of today think deeply instead of clearly.
Yeah,
One must be sane to think clearly, but one can think deeply and be
yeah.
quite insane. Okay. Okay, I'm skipping. Let the future. Okay.
Yeah.
Our virtues. Nope.
By the way, a
Wait,
friend,
wait. Our
remember that?
virtues and our failings are inseparable, like force of. No, that's not the one.
Do you
Do you
remember?
want to say something?
No, I was gonna say, do you remember the guy who messaged from Canada? He needed like a hospital in Canada or a doctor.
Yeah, yeah.
So he just messaged me out of nowhere. He goes, Svi, update. So and so is awake. I've messaged with him, still in the hospital, lost a lot of weight, weak, and trying to gain some weight. On a separate note, my father had to have a pacemaker installed last week after a small heart attack and passing out. I'm hearing about heart issues every day from people across Canada. There's definitely something up. I'm quite sure it's the schmecks. And I go, your father took the schmecks, and also what was so and so given medication wise in the hospital? He goes, yes, and booster. My family's pretty radical with it all. I'm sort of the black sheep. And then he says, I haven't asked no, the guy in the hospital. First time I messaged with him yesterday. Also, I just heard an aunt of mine had heart issues the last 6 months. A client I worked with today said his friend died this week after a heart attack. Young, healthy person, no previous health issues, cross country skiing with his family when his heart gave out. I'm hearing heart issues constantly. Both my parents had significant heart issues over the last year, never had any history of heart problems. And of course, people will just say, well, these things happen. Ooh. Just like, I can't. Just feel helpless, man. How do we pull people out of the Zoma thing? I don't know.
Well, I mean,
is it even our job?
this
Like,
this is yeah, it's our job. But again, we have to understand that we're not. God didn't give us all power, and we're doing right now what we can. When we talk to people, and then maybe some of the people who listen to this,
yeah,
might. What else can we do?
nothing. I don't know.
So listen to this. My brain is only a receiver. In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. I have not penetrated into the secrets of this core, but I know it exists. Right? That's God. If your hate could be turned into electricity, it would light up the whole world.
Yeah,
Okay. What we now want is closer contact and better understanding between individuals and communities. Hold on. Everyone should consider his body a priceless gift. I do not think there's thrill that can go to the human heart. One must blah blah blah. Our virtues. Let the future tell the truth.
hmm.
All was great. When we speak of man, okay, life is fights between individuals.
Yeah.
We crave for new sensations. Man, come on with the philosophy. So what one man, okay, invention is the most important product. Today's scientists have substituted mathematics for experiments. And they wander off through equation after equation. Okay. Nature may reach the same results in many ways, like a wave. Okay. I am credited with being the hardest workers, the gift of mental power.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. I found it.
Thank you.
I am trying to awake the energy contained in the air. These are the main sources of energy. What is considered as empty space is just a manifestation of matter that is not yet awakened.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to make this quick, okay? We talked about this whole world, this idea of the world of Tohu, the world of chaos, and that it was shattered, the Shvirat Kelim, right? Yes?
Yes.
Great?
Yep.
Okay. So basically the world that we're in right now is a building construction project which is being rebuilt from the broken material from the previous universes. Okay? But we're putting it together, the same exact material, pieces, but we're attempting to create a stable configuration. Once the stable configuration is achieved, the material itself will reveal its infinite energy potential as the highest of all things.
Yeah.
The reason why our souls, we are here in this world interacting with this quote unquote coarse material is because this coarse material is actually the most sublime possible substance that God ever produced or will produce. And our interacting with it will unlock its potential and reveal its true spiritual loftiness.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's why it says in the future that the body will nourish the soul. Right now it's the opposite.
Yeah.
But the body and the material that it's made out of, which is, by the way, another reason why we need the exact little bits of actual physical material that we were made of during the resurrection, right? Why, it's because we interacted with that specific material, unlocking its potential, and we will see the activation of it when Mashiach comes. God will throw the switch and will release the energy that we worked on by being attached to it, by being associated with it.
Can we pause for 1 second? I'm so sorry. Just 1 second.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yes,
I want to tell you a quick story. Actually, this is hilarious. So you know Valery Leontiev?
Sounds familiar.
He's a singer that is apparently married, but he seems very gay. He's a famous singer in Russia.
Like little Richard Gay. Gotcha.
He's literally like the little or the Liberace of Russia. He's 72 years old. He's a famous singer. He's been around for a while. Okay, so you know there's an actor. His name is Nikulin. Famous actor in Russia, Nikulin. His last name is Nikulin.
All right.
You've probably seen him. He played in, remember Собачье сердце, Heart of a Dog? He played the dog person, or the person that got the dog's whatever heart transplanted in him, whatever.
I think you showed me a clip of that.
Yeah, I did. So Nikulin is a famous. Also, he was known as like a storyteller besides being an actor. And Nikulin tells a story. It's actually a true story, supposedly, allegedly. When Leontiev was younger, in like the 70s or something, there was like a private or like one of these like, these performances that was done in like the Moscow Circus for, party members, Politburo members, and all these kind of people, right? So this obviously was not televised. Maybe it was like filmed by somebody, but I think the film was burned or something like that. Basically, so Leontiev was being put up on like a, the not trampoline, but like the swinging thing above the big top. It's like the trapeze, yeah. And there's a guy in like a budka, like a booth, who's supposed to be operating this like levers of this trapeze. And so before he gets on the trapeze, Leontiev, somebody comes up to him and they're like, you're gonna be performing for all these Politburo and this and that. What have you to say? And he goes in Russian. No, мне насрать на эту партию. No, he's like, you should надо вступить в партию. You have to join the party. And then Leontiev goes, мне насрать на эту партию, right? So then I want to shit on this party, this political party, communism. And then he gets on the trapeze and he's pulled up. And what happens is so below him are lions, like the animals, lions. And at some point he gets so low, and then he gets like frightened, and then the guy pulling the levers, he's drunk, but then he like passes out for like a second, and then when he comes to, he just realizes like, oh crap, the guy's like so low, I have to like pull up the lever to make the guy pull up, so the guy doesn't fall in with the lions. And as soon as that happens, Leontiev literally shits his pants. all over the Politburo guys. Heads. This is a true story. Lovely. So he literally said, "Мне насрать на эту партию." I shit on their heads.
I spit in your general direction.
So exactly, fart in general. So I was asking, it can't be a true story. It's too intricate to like make up. We know this Nikulin guy was a master storyteller, but like it can't. And apparently it is. It's like a mamash true story. It's like probably embellished. Probably exaggerated for effect.
True stories are always more creative than anything you can make up.
But dude, it's like I shit in your potty. I literally. Dude, if you go watch like this Leontiev guy, he's like, supposedly he's married. I mean, he's married to a woman, I guess.
Dude, he's a Streisand. Big time. He's like Little Richard.
Dude, you don't understand. There's like these programs where it's like you turn on, it's like a stage, right? So like all these people, it's like in Moscow somewhere, and like you have like him, and then you have this other singer what's his name? Kirkorov. You know Kirkorov, right? Him, you know.
I'm so unfamiliar.
Dude,
I know Sheputinsky.
Dude. Okay, so Kirkorov is
and maybe Rosenbaum.
Kirkorov used to be married to what's her name? Pugacheva. And he is even gayer than this Leontiev guy. They come out, they're wearing these like suits that are like, the volume on these suits is like a 20 on a scale of 10, and it's shiny as hell. And then they have like these like, these backup dancers, these like, these women, kind of, I guess, not so tznius women. It's just, the whole thing is just hilarious. And like people think that this is like high art in Russia. I mean, I don't know if they do think that. I think the people who are like the mainstream followers, or what I call the Putinites, think that this is high art. I'm pretty sure that like people who know anything about like music and art in Russia don't subscribe to this.
This is like, babushki and dedushki type. This is who they like. I mean, the young people there in Russia probably are probably more advanced than this kind of.
It's like when they
have cosmopolitan type people in Moscow and stuff like that. So
it's like they basically sit and they watch these like artists, who are already older, and they're like, "Ну ты посмотри, как она поправилась. Это же ужас. Look how she gained weight. It's a horror show."
Absolutely.
I don't know. It's just like there's no. It's just.
And they're right.
There's. Yeah, but it's just like how low of self-efficacy do you have to have to just sit there and just like you're sitting there and you're bashing. You're looking at the screen and you're bashing another person who has way more money than you ever could have. And you're speaking of crapping, you're crapping all over them. As if they care about what you think about their whether or not they're in shape or they look good. They don't give a crap. They're making millions of dollars and Putin is paying them.
Yeah, I mean, I think people at some point, like especially not, in a place like Russia. Okay, I don't know, a place like Russia, it's hard to kind of put your finger on it.
Yeah.
But people like like say women, they look at their. It's like this too here, but women, they look at their beauty, their aesthetic, mostly as a tool to achieve a life, a materially comfortable life. Once they achieve that and they feel settled in the fact that it's not going to go away, they revert to who they really are.
Yeah.
People who don't give a damn and just let themselves go.
Yeah.
Just enjoy eating.
Yeah.
That is that's something that you will see in Eastern Europe, and probably more so in Eastern Europe than in Western Europe. Am I crazy?
Dude, it's difficult to watch. Like, it's difficult to watch when it's people in your family.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just
because it's not because it's unhealthy.
It's unhealthy, but it's also like a total abdication of anything meaningful in life.
Like, you're not trying anymore.
Yeah.
You're not. You've basically, it's like you've given up.
Yeah.
You've settled. It's terrifying to see a person. Because not only do you feel bad for them, but you're worried that'll inspire that same idea in you.
Yeah, for sure. It's a drag on you. It brings you down.
But it's not just about you. It's also you're worried about them.
Yeah, of course.
There's always going to be some Freud who's going to be like, that's the real reason. You're worried about yourself, not them. You know, there's always some wise guy who can't wait to say something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a great story about poop and stuff like that. At the peak, the pinnacle.
Sorry.
Of we're talking about the Olam Tohu when the holiest aspect of reality will be revealed from its potential.
We have to have the occasional gem every once in a while.
Yeah, but it could have been. No, you're right. That was the perfect moment. You're right. But yeah, so anyway, Tesla, in short, he said that he was talking about air is not empty space. It's gas, okay? Which is, it's material, okay? Those are molecules. Those are atoms, okay? So basically, it's very interesting how he said that there is potential, there's energy that has not been released yet. So that's what this whole entire universe is. It is the physical universe, the matter, the particles, which vibrate slower than the speed of light, they contain the potential of the light from the world of chaos, which destroyed the vessels. Because the light of holiness was so potent that the vessels, who were unstable to begin with, couldn't contain them, and they were shattered. Okay, so this light is embedded in the shattered vessels, bits of it. Okay, and when this physical world when God turns on the lights and energizes it and shows you, let's say it's like he passes the electric current through the material, right? Finally completes the circuit, and watch what happens when the electricity gets turned on. That's all matter, by the way. Okay, that's the big reveal in the future.
Yeah.
So, so I think that was what I wanted to say. Okay, so what else should we cover?
No, I mean, so it goes back to just like, again, like it's very difficult for me to process the idea of certain good people that I know, especially, who've been sucked into this whole alternate reality. You know, the craziest part is not the people who already were susceptible to it always. It's the people that I know who actually are not living in an alternate reality, who understand what's going on, who were sucked into this particular narrative. And actually, it's actually led me to believe that this is a spiritual war. That it is a spiritual war, because people who otherwise see all the BS, and otherwise, I don't know, guys that I know watch Jordan Peterson and JP Sears and all this stuff way before any of this happened, and know that this is all, this leftist crap is awful and it's an alternative reality and it's a drachma and everything. We're sucked in by the narrative of this garbage. of taking this garbage, and they're like, they're real believers in the technology and in the science, and they got the booster. It's just like, it's astounding to me how those two things have been decoupled. It's just, and they'll even say like, I believe in the thing. I'm not for the mandates, but obviously, but I'm in favor of the. And I'm just like, how can you decouple the salesman from the product? How are you capable of doing that when it's so obvious? It's just so obvious that it's a part and parcel of each other. The strategy is what speaks to the nefariousness of the product. The method and the methodology, the bulliness, the coercion, the nastiness, the division, the zrizas. If you were in Israel, the zrizas with which they did this, the aplomb, the quickness, the way the Bibi was doing it. Yuli Edelstein, shut up and take the vaccine. The bystra, srazu, yalla. Can you not see what the heck is going on? It's just such a mind f.
It's the same. Look, people can't understand. They cannot really relate to a person who, let's say, wants to become the head of an industry, or somebody who wants to run for Congress or for Senate, or to get into a position of power. Yeah. These are very unusual people who are most of the time psychotic.
Yeah.
And they have such energy in trying to achieve their goal, right? Where most people are like, let them go, let them do it. I mean, we need somebody there anyway, right? And they don't, and not thinking too much as to what kind of people are attracted to this.
Yeah.
That's what the founding fathers were trying to create, a society where it's specifically the people who are not attracted to these, who have only to lose.
Like that trucker who won. Like that trucker who won in New Jersey, who beat the Speaker of the Jersey House or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, or somebody, let's say, like Trump, he has nothing. He has nothing financially to gain from being in the White House. He only, as we, it would certainly seem that he did not gain financially. You had people move out of his buildings just because, they hate his name. They don't want to live in a building that says Trump.
Yeah.
Okay. So, that's why we just cannot relate to psychosis, to people who are motivated in with extremely dirty energy. You understand? Yeah. There's people who inside are like hungry forest creatures, like like that. This inside of is lurking a demented predator beast.
Yeah.
They call it a swamp for a reason.
No, but dude, if you look at, for example, like I look over at Israel, you look at Bibi's life, you can't say, like, it's difficult because it's like the guy was in Seyeret Matkal. He saved people in the what is it, one of these flights. There was a hijacked flight, and he was one of the guys that went in. This is after Entebbe. His brother died in Entebbe. This is a person who defended Israel. This is a person who did a lot for Israel. He defended Israel on the public stage. There's that video of him when he was 27 years old at MIT, sitting, when his name was Ben Nettai. You've probably seen this video. And he successfully, like, on the world stage, basically turned this Arab guy, whatever he is, I don't know, Jordanian and Palestinian guy, into like a clown, in front of the world. Like, this is a person who did a lot for Israel. He did a lot for Israel, and over the years.
You know what it says. You know what it says. I think in Mishlei, or perhaps Kohelet, it says, "Don't get sucked into this." This is a paraphrase.
Yeah.
Don't get sucked into a discussion with the fool, because he will only make you into a fool.
No, okay.
Basically, that means when you hang out with demons, you become a demon.
You're saying that's what he's been doing?
Yes. I'm not saying... I believe that he was good.
Yeah.
That he had good... certainly, when there's a video of him...
Yeah, him and the Rebbe.
The Rebbe in the face.
Yeah, I mean, like... The Rebbe saw something in him, you know.
I don't think that he would. I don't think that he would have the balls to go in front of the Rebbe now.
Of course not, because the Rebbe would be like, okay, dude, what the hell happened?
Something happened. There was a metamorphosis of some sort, and that occurred in the dirty, swampy environment, especially with prolonged, without having a true moral compass.
I feel like some of when Obama was president, some of that maybe in the battle against Obama, he had to kind of sort of become, it's almost like spy versus spy. He had to become like Obama in some ways, and then he just took on those qualities. He carried it forward.
All right, so let's say that's true.
Even when Trump came in,
that's what happened to Asaph and Nimrod.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's not. So it just. There it is. I mean, that's how it may have occurred.
Yeah, and the same thing probably happened to Bennett on a more kind of like, I would say, blitzkriegish kind of way, where it's like, the guy went from like this high tech benign, also Seyrat Matkal guy, to just like 0 to 60 in like 2 seconds. Just makes you wonder, like, where. I mean, was it something that was maybe just like already there and just. Somebody gave him...
I think that people who, like free will, this whole free will project, right?
Yeah.
I think that not everybody gets to be a part of that to the same extent. Meaning, the higher up in terms of leadership you go, the much less your free will gets. You become, like, for instance, I'm sure you've heard, the president, it doesn't matter who you vote for, God will make the president, right?
Yeah. If God doesn't want him to be king, he won't be king. Something like that.
Right. It doesn't matter. Right. If he doesn't want it doesn't matter what you're voting. Yeah. So, obviously, we've seen that occur.
Yep.
This time around. But, so that's what I'm saying. That the higher up you go in the human power structure, the less of you there is left once you get there.
Yeah.
Okay. You become depending on who you were while you were yourself, will probably influence whose will you will be serving once you don't have you don't have your own will anymore.
Do you think that's precisely why it's so shocking that basically Trump, essentially, his free will remained, so to speak, intact? You know what I mean? Even when he became the president, his free will was like, you couldn't, like, the guy basically did what he wanted to do, in the sense of, like, there was no, like, special interests that could sway him, or, I don't know, some advisor.
He should have fired everyone.
I'm saying there was no, when he saw that when these advisors tried to sway him one way or the other, he was just like, you're fired, or he didn't listen to them, And that's what pissed a lot of people off, because all these other guys before him, a lot of them, going back to, the 1800s, like, they were affected by outside forces all the time. Even Kennedy was, like, some kind of, K Street, what is it called, a lobbying group or whatever it is, or some kind of congressman, whatever, some group, some committee, some this, some that, somebody from their past. But this guy, like, nothing. And that's the scariest part. There's nothing scarier than a politician you can't sway, you can't buy. Like you said, he has no financial interest. Nothing. There's not a dime you can give the guy. Scary, man. Scary for the people who are against him.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I may have asked you this before, but did you ever see the movie John Carter?
I didn't. But you wait, John Carter is not with Tom Cruise, right? What was the movie?
No, this was like basically most of the actors were kind of, some of the actors were recognizable, most were not. It was a Disney production. It was a pretty awesome movie, by the way.
Awakens on surface of Mars, also called Barsoom. He little expects the adventure that awaits him. I never saw this movie.
Yeah, this movie was based on science fiction books by Edgar J. Rice. Am I saying that? No, by Edgar Rice.
Yeah.
So this guy was the origin of all science fiction that we have now. All of it. you could when you read these books, you can see how everything that we have, all the science fiction that we use as metaphors, all rooted in his stories. Mm-hmm. That's why some people think that they were, special stories. Okay, mm-hmm. So yeah, is it Edgar Rice Burroughs? I think Edgar Rice Burroughs. Can you type that up? Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Hold on, John. It's called John Carter of Mars. That's a story. Fictional Virginian veteran of American Civil War.
Edgar Rice Burroughs is the name of the author.
Yeah. Edgar Rice Burroughs. Yeah, this is the guy.
Okay, right. So he wrote an entire series. Mm-hmm. So basically, they didn't show this that much in the book. Funny enough, but they portrayed this a little bit in the movie, where you had this. On Mars, you have these different races. Yeah. You have red people, mm-hmm. white people, yellow people, and black people, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it's not like we have that on Earth too, but it's not the same. Yeah. Like dynamic.
There it's color, here it's culture.
Right. On Mars, you have these the red people are the ones that you would mostly encounter mm-hmm. on the surface. Also, these green kind of giants. Yeah. And then you have this secretive race, right? Which are the whites, the white people. Okay,
that's funny.
And they seem to be running everything. Yeah. But what you learn later is that even they are the prey race for an even more clandestine race, which really runs everything. Yeah. And that's the black race. On Mars, the black people are the most, the most in charge. Yeah. Okay. And basically the people, the races that are more in charge eat the races from the lesser races. That's crazy. As they view them. That's okay. Crazy. So that's in the books, but in the movie they don't really portray that aspect. Mm-hmm. So they have the white race as something completely different. Yeah. Okay. They show that there's a conflict with the red races, right? You have city-states mm-hmm. that are at war with each other. Mm-hmm. And when you encounter the enemy, the villain of the, mm-hmm. the heroine of the story is this, she's the princess of one city-state. And to make peace, they want to marry her to the evil prince of the other city-state, whatever. John Carter comes and saves her and saves the whole world, whatever. But they have these characters which are these bold, very, very, very white albino type guys that no one can really see mm-hmm. except for the leader, some of the leaders. Mm-hmm. And these guys are portrayed as the guys who are in charge of shaping all the destiny of the entire solar system. It just shows the solar system that they operate on Earth, they operate on Mars, and in the Edgar Rice Burroughs world, all the worlds are inhabited of our solar system. Yeah. Okay? So, and these guys are the ones who kind of clandestinely, there's some kind of species which control the affairs and guide history. Okay? It's very alarming to see how close that is to the way that the ministering angels operate. If you see that movie, that's a great glimpse into what it might actually be like. Yeah. Which is funny because mm-hmm. they don't have that in the book. Because I read the books too.
It's funny. Right? Usually the book has more detail than the
right. That's movie. That's one of the oddities.
Interesting.
About this movie that this movie is sort of, it's at least the books are very interesting, but this movie has something that is completely a different angle, which is very interesting. Okay? So that's the closest thing that I've seen really to what I've heard, how the ministering angels actually, in that movie, they're portrayed as evil. Yeah. Right? So it's not a perfect metaphor. In reality, the ministering angels are entirely neutral towards us, and they just do whatever God says. Yeah. And that might look evil to us, but they're essentially indifferent to us.
So what you're telling me is that the ministering angels that are, for example, that are controlling BB and Bennett are doing what God wants them to do this. God wants Bibi and Bennett to be this way.
Yeah, but check this out.
For whatever reason.
God has 71 flavors of ministering angels. and so we have some, apparently, if this might be, like, take this with a grain of salt. I'm not sure about this next statement, okay? I think that, I'm not sure if I learned this or if I'm making this up, okay? So I'm qualifying. I think that the way things end up, like whichever ministering angel actually is able to control you, has to do with the decisions that you've made up to that point.
Yeah.
If you've made good decisions, then it's Michael.
Yeah.
He's the ministering angel of the nation of Israel.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Michael.
Yeah.
If you've gone a different path, then you have attracted the energy of the path that you have chosen.
Well, interesting.
And that energy is concentrated in a particular ministering angel.
It's interesting you say that, because even before this Shmobit stuff, Bibi was, it's funny. It's always like this thing of, like, in Israel, it's a very ironic thing that the only prime ministers that ever pulled Jews out of their homes in quote-unquote settlements have been the right-wingers, so-called right-wingers.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would not exclude Bibi from that, and that's exactly what he was engaging in. As much as he was, like, fighting Obama off and fighting this off and fighting that off about, settlement freezes and all kind of this and that and the other. I'm going to say two names. So Amona, and Migron. Okay?
Yeah.
And you should go watch those scenes of policemen on horses beating the crap out of Torah Jews.
I've seen it.
Who don't want to leave their homes. Okay? And that is sponsored by, you want to say, it's actually the Supreme Court. But here's the thing, man. Israel doesn't have a system of checks and balances. We have a Supreme Court and a Knesset and the Prime Minister, but we don't have the American Supreme, balances where Supreme Court in America is there to interpret the law. And you could say the legislate from the bench, whatever it is. In Israel, the Supreme Court is a separate body that's not interpreting anything. They just set down rulings and they set down law. They essentially decree. They are a decreeing body, more so than in America. I mean, on crack, on steroids. And these were the guys that did it. However, there are mechanisms that a prime minister has at his disposal to mitigate these things. There are, so to speak, executive powers that he has. And he did not exercise, knowing that the Supreme Court is who they are. And we saw today, what's her name? That one of the main people, that she passed away. That's another story. Miriam Naor. She passed away today. Do you know the story? Like they were demolishing homes. They ordered the demolition of homes in Meron after this whole Lag Bomer situation. In the investigation,
I didn't know about that.
And there's like some Sephardi guy, Buskila, I guess he's Moroccan. He was on video filming the demolition of his own home in Meron, and he's a religious guy, so he's going like, Hayom, Hayom, Balayla, Balayla, Balayla. He's basically like, he was like cursing this woman, the Supreme Court justice, and the next day she passed away. Crazy stuff, dude. But like, these people
what was the reason? I'm just curious. Like, what was the BS excuse that they used to raise someone's home?
There was some issue. They're trying to take control of lands next to the kever because of whatever. It's this whole Erev Rav movement by the government because of what happened in the last year at the event. Even though they were the ones that caused it, whatever. It's this whole thing, It's a very Erev Ravian, just whatever, zeitgeist. And this is what they're doing. And these people are Erev Rav. The Supreme Court of Israel is Erev Rav, straight up. And this guy could have done things to stop them when they were removing Jews from their homes back then. What was it, 2015, 2016, 2017? He didn't do anything.
Oh, yeah.
Even Ayelet Shaked, the great Minister of Justice at the time, did not do. She tried, but like, whatever. She was like handcuffed. Okay, and that's it. And we know the rest of the story. COVID came along, and this guy became who he became. He had to sign the contracts that he signed with Shmurla, and turned Israel into the largest laboratory mankind's ever seen. To the point where I told this idiot on Twitter, I'm like, Israel's the world's lab, right? And you're a lab rat. He's like, well, I'm in New Zealand, so I should be safe. I'm like, no, you idiot. Israel's the tip of the spear, but the rest of the world is still a lab by extension. Debil. Ugh. Another one of these, sucked in people.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's just. Dude, I joke with people. I say, at this rate, I'm going to turn Satmar. I was the biggest Aliyah and Rav Kook, whatever, person. I still kind of am.
I mean, I'm still... I think that it must, like...
The way, that song...
I still am, too.
Yeah.
I just... This whole COVID... this tsunami of evil has to pass through and go away forever in order for Israel to be safe for another Jew.
Safe from its own quote-unquote leaders. These are the biggest enemies of Israel right now. Honestly, I'm telling you, dude, I look at, they're talking about Iran and this. I'm looking at Iran as an afterthought. It's an afterthought to me. It's like a background noise. These people are these people are the Tosafos in the Gemara that is Israel. Lehavdil, like Iran, the Ayatollah is a Tosafos in the sugya of Israel. It's like whatever, It's not whatever, but you know what I mean. Like, it's like a Breita. It's like a banned sugya that didn't make it. Okay.
No, they're still used for laws, but basically,
I'm just saying.
Basically. I hear you. But, so, I think that was it Rabbi Kessin who said that the Erev Rav is the final gullus, right?
Yeah. So what's this I hear about all these Lubavitcher people that I hear that they say, well, you can't just call, even the Jew who's the most farthest from this, you can't say there's Erev Rav, we don't know who Erev Rav is, even Soros has a chance to do tshuva, and all this kind of stuff.
I haven't heard Lubavitcher say that.
I've heard Lubavitcher say it.
Where do you... I think you're looking for the nichest of the niche.
No, they're not niche. I've heard a good amount of people say that. Good amount of Lubavitchers say that. I'm telling you. You can. We don't know. Even the guy from J Street can do tshuva and this and that and
No,
say.
Listen. That is technically true.
Yeah.
Because not only that, but even a mullet can do tshuva if it chooses.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. That is available. There are people. There are descendants.
Yeah, there are Bnei Brak. Yeah, that's a famous thing.
Yeah. Okay. So that it is technically possible. Like if a mullet can do teshuvah, then why can't some Erev Rav Jews do teshuvah? A mullet is not even. They're not even Jews.
Yeah.
So technically, yes, it is possible. Okay. And by the way, even. That's that whole thing about like, how it's like impossible to imagine how someone like Soros could do teshuvah, right, or something like that.
Yeah.
So this connects to that idea of everything, even the lowest aspects of creation, even the symbolic offer. Like when they say even the God has to be revealed even in the offer, not even, but especially in the offer. Do you understand how it works?
Yeah.
The furthest away and the most unlikely you think of where godly energy can be, right? That's where it will. The elevation of our world will be so complete, so thorough that even the most counterintuitive aspects will be elevated. It's just we, as Jews, only can elevate Klipat Noga. The other three klipot, the shalosh klipot hatameh, right? The three impure klipot that don't have the potential for elevation. That means we can't. We don't have the potential to elevate them. We don't have it. But God does. They will be elevated. Even the stuff that is so impure that we can't come anywhere near it, that will also be elevated, just not by us. Okay, so even that stuff. So, so even with somebody very extreme, look, you've had evil kings in Israel who did teshuva, right? And the unspeakable evil that they did probably makes Soros look like a little baby.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So and somehow they did teshuva. So it's hard to figure this out if you really want to put your emotions aside and take a look at this like, as in a robotic way to see like what's technically possible and what is really going on.
Yeah.
Then it's possible, but that's it's not it's not good to divorce yourself from that much.
Yeah.
And let God take care of that.
Anyway, sir.
It's just basically it is a incorrect statement. It is not in line with truth to say that Soros can't do teshuva. Technically, it is. That's all I can muster myself to say. Is to say it is technically possible. My heart's not in it though.
I hear. Of course. Look around us. All the destruction and all the stuff he's paid for. It's incredible.
Listen. He's low down on the totem pole.
Yeah, of course.
But he shouldn't have put his face out there.
Of course.
To be the classic Jew target punching.
Dude, speaking of which, I had a friend message me. You know what and she's a big pro-Israel activist and whatever. You know what she wrote to me? She wrote to me something similar that what you accused me of what's called Farrakhanism, even though it's not Farrakhanism. You know what I wrote to her? Listen to this. She writes to me. Hold on. She writes to me. 1 second. Crud. Hold on. This is pertinent. Hold on. It's
sure.
Jews. Hold on. I want to get the last. Shit. Okay. Hold on. Un momento. All right, come on. She was talking about. I really want to read this to you. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Okay. May I make a suggestion? She writes. I go, sure. I agree with a lot of your content, but the problem that I have is that anti-Semites say the same exact thing as you say, and it's a problem. And I go to her, the Sitra Achra gets it first. Always remember that. And then I go, what did I say recently that they have said? And then I go, by gets it, I mean they are the ones who bring the idea to the forefront. And then she goes, I don't think it's helping our people. You're spreading more of this rhetoric. I go, please point me to something I said recently. I will. No, she's like, I'll make a list, LOL. And that was the end of that.
I'd like to see the list.
I would too. Of what I said? I think the only thing I have said openly once, maybe, openly, I made a whole video about how the Jews are going to be blamed for all this. And it's interesting because...
But can I tell you something? I know that. But, so, there's one thing that I think that non-Jews, when they look at Jews, it makes them, shake their head. Mm-hmm. And on a certain way, by the way, actually, Rabbi Shimon Kessin did a whole huge, lecture kind of series about this. How, what Jew on Jew animosity, right, produces, what response it produces in our brother Asa.
Oh, sure.
And in the world in general. So I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but it's in the ballpark.
Yeah, by me it's not animosity. By me it's more like, it's pointing out the error of Rav. It's not animosity.
Right? No, I know, but what I mean is like this. Sometimes you want to do a good thing, right? So but you end up humiliating someone who perhaps deserves it, right? But that's your brother, right? So technically speaking,
Soros is my brother. Soros is my brother.
Forget about Soros for a minute. You see, you got to go to such an extreme all the time. I'm talking about just I'm talking about whatever, some freaking, I don't know. like to pick on what's his name, Judd Apatow.
Listen,
even a guy like Judd
I don't pick
okay?
on those. To be honest with you, can I tell you something? I don't pick on those guys. The people that I was talking about in my video was like Shmurla. These are the guys I'm talking about. Shmurla and Smith and Walensky. That's what I'm talking about.
But
Steakhouse.
The problem is that one of the problems is that that most non-Jews probably can't tell the difference between Judd Apatow and Shmurla.
Yeah, they don't discern. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, whenever, like, you know, like that in The Godfather, what do you say to Fredo? He goes, never take sides against the family, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So Jews don't hold to that. We are the group that's supposed to hold to that more than anybody else, and we hold to it the least. We are so
But there's a reason.
fast.
There is a reason for that, though. Obviously,
There's no excuse for it.
There's no excuse, but there's a Kabbalistic reason for that.
No, there might be a Kabbalistic reason, but that is the thing that is one of God's major pet peeves, to put it mildly. Okay, so whatever. So basically, my point is like this: even if you are correct.
By the way, can I just pause you for a second? It's not animosity. It's me. It's when I made a video like that, I'm sending a message to those guys to say, guys, stop doing this because we're going to get blamed for the rest of your actions.
Dude, listen. I understand what you're saying.
I'm going to get blamed for Burla. You understand?
Dude, it's like you're missing my point on purpose.
I get your point.
No, you don't. Because what I'm saying is like this. Has anybody ever humiliated you publicly that didn't have animosity? They just did it. Perhaps a parent.
Yeah, but just by like what is it called? Inadvertently.
By just it's being careless, right? They didn't.
Yeah.
Or they didn't mean it, or they didn't take you seriously enough to think that you have, feelings that can be humiliated on that level. Yeah. You know why? Because they're like, что ты себе представляешь? Why are you feel so important that you humiliated to that?
Yeah.
This is a problem, but I'm not really going there. I'm just saying that. Yeah. This is an example of somebody humiliating another person without animosity. It's just some other type of carelessness.
Yeah.
Okay? So the point is, it's the humiliation aspect and not the reason behind it, even though it might be, in terms of justice, it might be justified. Yeah. Right? So my point is like this. Not for any reason, not because we want to be a cliquey type of tribal thing. It's us against the world, right? Like, that's not the reason. The reason is it's a similar reason to the reason why God wants to have a relationship with us. We don't know, and also, it's a really huge pet peeve, even though it doesn't always make sense, when Jews attack each other, or they accuse each other, or publicly humiliate each other. There's no other.
Okay. I agree with you, but I think in my case it wasn't public humiliation. It was, and I didn't even do that. It was more like giving a person advice to say, "Hey, man, you're gonna get us all in trouble." It's like I'm telling him, if anything, or addressing them, saying, "Guys, like let's relax because we're all gonna be put in the same boat because of you." I'm not trying to embarrass them. I'm trying to just say, guys, what are we doing? This is madness.
I hear you. I hear you. I'm not attacking that particular.
Yeah, there's not even an embarrassment. If you watch my video, there wasn't even an embarrassment aspect to it. I wasn't embarrassing the person at all.
So, I was embarrassed.
Really?
Even though you weren't attacking me, it's like, oh shit, dude, can you stop pointing out how each and every single one of these guys is a Jew, even when some of them really aren't. Even those guys are Jews somehow. Okay, so it's like holy crap, because I'm cringing from the humiliation of it. Do you understand?
But I think what you're feeling is not so much humiliation. What you're feeling is trepidation.
It's I'm not scared of. It's not trepidation, dude, because I know that the non-Jews that want to attack us, if they don't have a real reason, it'll be fabricated. So I'm not worried about that. That to me, that goes without saying.
Yeah.
Those that are gonna attack are gonna attack regardless of whether the reason is real or not.
Yeah.
I'm humiliated by these members of my family.
So that's on
Okay?
you, man.
It's hard.
I mean, I can't say I'm humiliated. I just, yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm just.
So it's like, ooh, yes, oh, that hurts. You know, it's like a
I guess
punch in the gut.
I guess you think it's humiliating because you already feel humiliated without me saying anything, right?
Yes.
Yes. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I don't. By me, it's more like I expect them to be smart. Be smart.
Oh.
Don't be stupid. You Dafka are part of the Jewish nation.
Don't
get us in trouble.
No, but they're Dafka trying to. Do you understand that?
They're trying to get us in trouble?
Yes.
Really?
These
Why?
are people. These people are consciously.
Wait a minute. Let's pause. Burla just got the Genesis Prize for his work in Holocaust. And
the Genesis Prize itself is an Erev Rav. It's the prize. It's the gold medal of Erev Rav.
I know that. I know that. Even though Sharansky was up for it, but I don't consider him Erev Rav. Whatever. So even though he probably kowtows them, but the kids are like, I'm saying like I don't. What do you mean?
Listen,
what do you mean they're trying to?
There are a group of people, Jews and Gentiles, who think that the whole idea of nationality to begin with
is a problem.
Is a severe poison on the world, and the worst of all nationalities, the most strongest nationality that. The one that you have to get rid of first, to get rid of the notion of nationality in general, is the Jews, because that's the nationality that won't go away. That's the most stubbornest one.
And you think that Burla feels that way?
Yes, I know that he feels that way. I know for a fact that both Soros and his father felt that way.
No, that's for sure.
It's openly stated. These people are all the same shit. Okay, so they are trying to destroy. They have to destroy the Jews first.
You think Walensky feels this way, or you think she just put up to? She's just stuck.
I feel like she's on board.
I feel like she's stuck, though. I feel like she doesn't feel that way. She thinks she's stuck in her position.
Look, I know that the people on top feel this way, and by the way, so you have Erev Rav and you have Amalek. The Erev Rav have to. They have the same plan.
Do you think that Mousy is a Moloch?
I think Mousy is a Moloch. I think that the Erev Rav, I'm sure in their mind, they're somehow justifying this because this is going to lead to peace. Yeah. If you get rid of nationalities, if you get rid of culture, if you get rid of religion, what are you doing? It's John Lennon's Imagine, right?
Yeah.
That's what this is all about. Okay? Yeah. So they don't understand that John Lennon's Imagine is stupid.
Yeah.
That it's the opposite. It's going to have the opposite effect of the supposed effect that it's going to have. Okay? God wants all of these different type of people, but in the right framework.
Well, the Rav Kook would say God. I mean, if you just think about just the Jews ourselves, God wants. It's called a universalism that stems from a particularism. It's when the Jews are mehazik within themselves, and know who they are, and know what their mission is, then their particularism are specific things. Mitzvot that we do, our land, all this encompassing, thing together, is going to emanate a universalist ideal onto the world. That's what Rav Kook was talking about. That's essentially, and this is why, like, for example, Europe gets confused. They think that because their version of nationalism is just a very, very, ethnocentric, what is it called? Not misogynist. No. What I always call the Eastern Europeans this, whatever, ethnocentric nationalism that usually leads to like hatred and war. Because they're not here to emanate light. They're just here to be like, well, we're nationalists and we're proud and screw everybody else. By the Jews, it's more like, it's not a civic nationalism. It's a spiritual, quote unquote, nationalism. Right? So.
No, look. The only nationalism
that's real is ours.
That makes any sense.
Yeah.
Is a nationalism that wants to create the God nation.
Yeah.
Okay? Look, when God created the world, he had a couple of ideas. He wanted to create another. First of all, he wanted to create an environment where God and this other can interact with. Okay, it's all the point of setting the context for the relationship. Okay, and I gave you the metaphor of the club, right? Like God's like, we'll get back to that another time. So basically, God wants that relationship, and He needs an environment to have in it. Okay, that He created this environment for us, full of wonders and joys, and that we're going to share together with God. Okay, so He had this environment is a country. The entire universe, all existence, it's all one country. God is the king. We are the subjects. The name of that country He called Israel. Humanity are His subjects.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like from God's angle. That's what He wants. Yeah. Any other nationality that is trying to create an alternative reality is Sitra Achra.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's the real Sitra Achra. Okay? When you're trying to create an alternative reality to what God is asking us to create for Him or to create with Him.
So now,
So that's the only nationality that there should have been from the beginning.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean that you don't have different districts within within this one nation that has their own interesting flavors and cultures, and then people from visit each other, to experience different flavors, and so it's not the same homogenous. They took our jobs. Those people. They took our jobs.
Yeah.
Okay, you just this kind of like average of everything person, right? That ends up in the future that there's nothing going on because there's no
diversity.
There's no tension.
Yeah.
There's no polarity. You need a polarity to have a relationship.
Yeah.
Polarity doesn't always mean bad and good.
Yeah.
It just means on one side you have sweet, on the other side you have salty.
Salty, bitter, yeah.
Okay, I love salty, and I also love sweet. Okay, so not necessarily at the same time. Sometimes though. Okay.
Sweet sour pork. No, not pork.
Yeah.
Sweet sour chicken.
So, right. So Irish people who speak Swahili, Japanese people, Eskimos, even though they're very smug.
Where's that from? Is that Norm Macdonald or something?
That's from Anger Management. That's what John Sotoro. He said. He goes, I think Eskimos are smug. Just so random.
My favorite John Turturro character was in Mr. Deeds. I'm very sneaky, sir. You underestimate my sneakiness.
I've never seen that movie. I've been meaning
He's like, he plays the butler.
Like 20 years.
He plays the butler. Dude, you gotta see this movie. He's like, yes, sir. I'm very sneaky, sir. You underestimate my sneakiness. He's like, I have a crowbar in my foot, but I will not scream. Something like that. He like gets hit with a crowbar in his foot, but he's like, yes, sir, I'm in a lot of pain, but I'm not going to show it. Whatever. It's just he's like stupid. He's like brilliant. You look back on these movies, it's just like incredible. Hilarious.
John Sotoro did a great they made this movie. I think it's called Brain Donors, where it was like they were trying to recreate the Marx Brothers like in modern times. Mm-hmm. It's actually kind of pretty good. If I remember correctly, I have to look at it again.
Dude,
but anyway.
John Turturro played the ultimate racist Italian guy in Do the Right Thing. He went from that to like this Mr. Deeds guy. Talk about range.
He's an actor.
Talk about range, bro.
He has exactly.
Talk about
true actor with range.
Talk about freaking range, man. This guy. You saw that scene where he's like, you whatever. He's like calling all the names that black people get called. He's like railing on him, and then Spike Lee rails on him about like you Guinea Guido Grease and like back and forth, Yeah. And then it ends in like this horrible riot, whatever, with garbage cans and
they burn down.
They burn down cells. They burn down cells. It's funny because actually Danny Aiello, in real life, he's a conservative. So it's interesting how he played like this. He actually was trying to not. His character was trying to not have this whole race war thing. Like it was the son, or the employee, the son. Tortura was like the one, you know.
He's like the crazy Mario of Do the Right Thing.
Crazy Mario. That's a great movie, though. I like that movie, even though Spike Lee in real life is like a horrible racist, but it's a good movie.
Spike Lee is a troglodyte.
He is a troglodyte. When he got kicked out of Madison Square Garden, he was removed because he's like, you know, he's a season ticket holder, and he's like he has a front, what is it, the courtside seats. He gets to enter through a back entrance of Madison Square Garden, and everybody knows him. They just let him do it, you know. He's the only one. Him and like Dolan, the owner. So he did this once, and he was like removed by security, and then he went on TV. He went on like Stephen A. Smith, you know, the stupid show, and he's like, I'm never coming back to Madison Square Garden again. This is a travesty. Good. This is an outrage. Da, 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 da. And he went on, and then they reinstated him. Like Dolan was like, all right, you're like because he's like the biggest Knicks fan ever, like the most famous one, and it's not a Knicks game without him. So they reinstated his whole, whatever. Dolan basically like sucked up to him and let him back in. But you know who's still not allowed back in Madison Square Garden? Charles Oakley, the most beloved Nick, who had like a tantrum because he had too many drinks in like the third row, was kicked out, banned for life by Charles Dolan. This idiot. Dolan is the idiot, I mean.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine banning Patrick Ewing from Madison Square Garden, or like Mark Messier. Like, disgrace. Anyway, I'm just ranting.
I don't know why the word troglodyte came to me, but it's such a perfect word.
You're absolutely right. Just be careful because, you know, people might think that you're saying that his looks wise.
Oh no.
And then they're gonna say,
I don't have a look associated with troglodyte.
Oh, okay, fine. Just like behavior.
Yeah, it's a person characterized by reclusive habits and outmoded or reactionary attitudes.
Oh, that makes sense.
How's that not the ultimate?
That is Spike Lee. That's for sure Spike Lee. You know, that's for sure.
If that's real and it's not an act.
What if the way he is? Oh, it's real.
You know what I mean? Like you know how like some people will, like for instance, you know that remember that scene with Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan in Rush Hour, where they go to the casino and then like Chris Tucker starts acting up, right? Like he put on the show.
It's like the show for undercover, for the undercover situation.
Right. He goes, "This is the outrage."
Yeah.
You know, he goes, "Why you don't think I can do it because I'm black?" You know, he starts doing that whole thing, right?
Yeah. Shtick.
So I don't. So I never know if they're doing that act as a tool, as a political tool, or they actually are that reactionary.
Unfortunately, by Spike Lee, it's quite real.
I think you're right.
Which does make him basically a Cro-Magnon.
Right. He's not like I think like I guess Chris Tucker. The fact that he can like pretend to be like that shows that he's kind of perhaps transcended that and making fun of it.
Yeah, and he has self-awareness and all the other wonderful things.
And Spike Lee might have like zero self-awareness.
And you know this, man. You got knocked the blank out.
Like a little monkey. Remember? He's like...
What did he say?
Like, yeah. Remember they were stuck... They were tied up in the truck.
Oh,
they were being translated. And then they're trying to figure out how to get out. And then Jackie Chan started like biting the ropes. He goes, "Yeah, bite it, grab it, bite it like a little monkey."
That's messed up. That's messed up.
He's saying that to Jackie Chan.
We need to be careful. We need to be careful.
I don't need to be careful at all. At all.
With that said, sir, it's been almost 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
But then again, this topic warranted epicness.
I agree.
It warranted a 3.5 hour Sasha and Digweed style set, which we gave to the people, to our subjects. No, I'm kidding. You're not a subject. You are wonderful,
to Denise
fantastic.
and Alex and Chris, by the way, we have
Chris, and we have another guy
Leia.
and we have another guy who's apparently trying to harness the power of. I forget how to pronounce his username, but he's trying to harness the power of ancient crystals in order, speaking of Tesla, to create energy with them, which I find quite interesting. I don't know if he's been successful in this, but
okay, so obviously that's not a controversial idea.
No.
Harnessing energy from crystals, it's called piezoelectronics, and like for instance, like quartz watches.
Quartz. Russian women like the quartz. I bought quartz machine. They used to put it on their. The machine. They sit in front of it when they don't. For vitamin D.
I'm not familiar.
It was a big thing, dude. It was a big
electronics that are used.
Dude,
that use it.
It was a big thing in the 90s. Like Russian women, they had these quartz machine, quartz lamp. And they would sit in front of them. My mom used to sit in front of this quartz lamp, and when when it's winter and she can't get vitamin D, like the sun.
That sounds pretty cool.
Dude, you gotta here. Hold on.
No, but hold on. I don't want people. I want just to solidify this idea.
Yeah.
That modern electronics, plenty of it, not anything having to do with health or just pure electronics, use crystals.
Yeah, for sure.
As a component, for instance. LED light bulbs. Those are crystals that when you pass a current through them, they light up. So that's just a simple example.
Yeah.
Because the vibration that when you pass, actually some crystals that when you step on them or you apply some pressure to them, their molecular makeup creates this somehow it creates this vibrational force. More than a regular substance, much more.
Yeah.
Okay, because of the way it's arranged, the molecules, that it produces energy, it produces an effect that is greater than the amount of energy you're putting into it for temporarily. So that's not a controversial idea.
Yeah. Anyway, sir.
Wait, no. We're not finishing this episode until I say this. I need another. I can do this in 30 seconds.
Okay.
This is episode 44.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the numerical representation of 44 is Mem Dalet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when I put that, I wanted to see which word in the Torah is 44. The first word in the Torah. So it falls upon chapter 3 of Genesis, verse 24. So Genesis chapter 3, verse 24, okay, where it says, just a moment, it says, one second. Okay, so Vai Goresh et Ha'adam, Vayashkein Mikedem Legan Eden. Et hakiruvim ve'et lahat haherev mitlapechet. Mithapechet lishmor et derech eitz hachayim. Okay, which means and he drove out the man and stationed east of the Garden of Eden the cherubim, the cherubim, and these are not little baby angels, okay, as they're prescribed. And they're fiery, ever-turning swords. So the fiery part of the sword, that's lahat. Lamed, hey, tet. Okay, that's the first 44 of the Torah. That's the flaming sword.
Nice.
The flaming angelic sword.
Nice.
And you'll never, I don't think there's any other, I could be mistaken, but I don't think there's any other context in which this word lahat is ever used aside from an angelic sword.
Interesting.
So, and it's very, and so this kind of flaming sword of judgment, right? Which is related to the idea of din, right?
Yeah.
It seems to be a very big theme of this episode, and that was
True.
not on purpose. That's just how it worked out. I just thought it was very interesting how...
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And with that, we will say...
One more. 44 when I first thought, I was like, what word is 44? That came to mind first before I even checked. And it's dam, blood.
Interesting. There you go.
Another kind of.
There you go. It gets our blood boiling.
The red blood.
It gets our blood boiling to talk to these people.
Not that, but the red. Oh. First of all, blood guilt. This is a very common term.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and that also connected to Deen, to justice.
Yeah.
And then the color red in general is associated with Gevura.
Yeah. Listen, if you speak to a lot of people who voted for Shmo Mama, white people, they'll say, yeah, we felt bad about the Shmavery. And this was the tikkun. A lot of people admitted this fully. A lot of people did. It was white guilt, you know?
It's a brain disorder.
Of course it is. Of course it is. But I guess that's how the non-Jewish world sees tikkunim. They think that they have to carry them out. That Hashem is not going to do it.
At somebody else's expense.
At somebody else's expense. Yeah. With $14 trillion on the bill, so to speak. Whatever. Yeah. Build back better, as we say.
So, the next episode is 45. So 45 is the number of Mashiach.
Dope. That's actually really cool because 45 is a number that Michael Jordan wore when he came back to play basketball. Before he switched back to 23.
I think we have more relevant 45s.
I know, I'm kidding.
Like Colt 45. Just kidding.
Exactly. Billy D. Williams. We can talk about him.
I was thinking more of the 45th president.
Oh,
interesting.
That we could do that too.
And so I heard, I was listening to Rabbi Wolf, and every time I listen to him, he reiterates how what the instructions the Rebbe gave to us about how to bring Mashiach, or how to allow that to be manifested, to learn specifically as much Torah as possible about Mashiach. So I thought, let's do a word analysis of the word Mashiach, letter by letter, from every angle. Let's see if we can analyze. Let's just start with the word Mashiach itself and see what we can extract from it. What do you say?
We can do that. Yeah, next episode we can do it.
No, I wanted to do it now. Just kidding, bro. I'm joking. I knew you'd have like a mini little panic attack if I said that.
Oh, no panic attack. It's just it's. I want people to finally listen. I want to upload this so people can finally listen to it. And I actually, I figured out a way how to do that much easier.
Nice.
Instead of waiting for the wonderful product from Apple to do it for 5,000 years.
So if there's any, by the way, I updated my operating system. I'm gonna try to download the thing now, the iMovie.
Nice.
But I wanted to just say that I'd like, if anything good came of this in terms of Torah and spreading light, and that outweighed the damage that we did, probably, with some of the stupid stuff we said, hopefully, that I'd like for the good stuff to go to the Refuah Shalema of my uncle, Falik Ben Fira.
Refuah Ben Fira, Amen.
Refuah.
And for the Refuah of everybody, because I'm just tired of this.
The refuah of the entire world instantaneously.
Yeah.
And it's a cinch. It's easy for God to do, and it's also the least He can do.
Yeah. All right, sir. On that note,
yes, sir.
It's been real. Until next time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.